Well, hello, fellas. It's Jaffe. Welcome to Gavin and Games for March 9th, 2022. This is just an intro to the podcast version. We'll have a little bit of dead air while I let the world know that the stream is happening. We're going to play a song by our very own Bukaki Drive-By, his band Quitter, which is a pretty fucking good song, I must admit. We poke fun at the Bukaki, but it's pretty goddamn good people. It's called I'm Done. I'll play that in just a second. Then I'll see you on the other side as we get to talk about a lot of video game news today, including Sony's big state of play that they wrapped up about 2 or 3 hours ago. This is Gavin and Games, and it will be time stamped, and I appreciate it, and I'll see you soon. I'll see you on the other side. Here we go. listen. I'm finishing up a Tootsie Roll Pop. Hang on. Oh, shit. Well, I just deleted something. I hope the still stream's going. It's probably going. We'll find out. Listen, that was Bukkake Drive-By's band Quitter. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Their album is called Seven Eyes on the Prize. Bukkake, as you may know, is one of our great mods here on the show. And come on, Jeffy, stop eating the goddamn Tootsie Pop. I'm coming. I don't know who this is. Let me answer the phone. Hang on. Hello? Hello? Oh, man. Fucking recording. Let me just give me a minute. You guys are like, what the fuck, Jeffy? I'm telling you, it's been a day. It's been a day. That's why I'm late. And I know you're listening to this and you're like, what the fuck am I listening to? I could be listening to a professional podcast. You could be. This is true. But would it be as raw? No. Would it be as punk? No. Would it be as sexy? You goddamn right it would not be. Well, it might be. No, it probably wouldn't be. Hang on. I gotta get your text back up on the screen. Then we're gonna... There you go, fellas. How are you? Listen, I know you can hear me. I want you to hear me. Okay, I apologize. No, so what I was saying is it's been a crazy day. The stream is late, but I'll tell you why in just a second. But I do want to say welcome. Good to see everybody. That was Bukkake's band. Let me put the name of his. It's up in the website right now. We're up on the chat right now. They are called Quitter. And that's a pretty goddamn good song, I have to admit. Good job, Bukkake. He's one of our mods if you don't know Bukkake. There it is. Okay. Let us settle. Oh, no, oh, God damn it, Jeffy. I'll tell you what. Focus. Fuck off, Brownie Brosum. You know what's funny about that? All right, let's get into it. Brownie Brosum says, remember when you asked that horrible hypothetical question on Twitter? Lay off the weed, bruv. Listen to me, fuckstick. Okay? That was actually quite a... You know what you are? You know what you are, Brosi? You're one of these people that if you went to college today, you could not hack it. You couldn't hack it because the value of... You're one of these people that's like, someone comes onto college campus that you disagree with, that you think is bad, and you just would rather shut them down and not have them there. This is your problem, Browsy. My question was actually a pretty fucking interesting question if you're into game design and philosophy. You're the moron that saw, along with a handful of other people, a little bit of language in there that without actually stopping to be a critical thinker, you were just like, oh, my stars and garters. I'm Brosy Brosum, my stars and garters. Somebody's talked about shooting minorities. He must be a minority shooter. No, you moron. God damn. How do you get out of the house every day? Does your mama help you? She put your shoes on for you? She wipe your butthole? Fucking moron. That's a bingo. You goddamn right. You goddamn right. Listen to me. Before we start the show, look at this. When I was a kid, Scott Woodford says, lay off the water, you're losing weight, said by no one. Fuck you. Jacob Martin says, Jaffe, did you listen to Colin and Dustin and the Raygun Man's Sacred Symbols take on your tweet? I did. Colin thinks it was hypothetical placed at a bad time. Not sure what the timing was bad. Well, I don't think he meant it was at a bad time. I think what he was saying is that if you're gonna pose a question, which I think he agreed was a valid, interesting question, you probably don't want to just put it on Twitter. You probably want to have it on a podcast. And to be fair, fuck off. Not to Colin, but it's like the whole point of it, and I made it clear on the stream, was this is for the stream. I wanted to pose it on Twitter and then bring the results into the stream, and we spent 40 minutes talking about it, as Colin suggested. And I get it that no one would know that. No one would be able to read my mind and know that. But I just don't care. I just don't care. It's like, end of the day, I think I've reached my limit, folks and Filettis and fellas, on having to consistently explain and put up preambles before I say anything on the off chance someone may not have bothered to give anyone the benefit of the doubt or checked for context. I don't care anymore. I don't give a fuck anymore. It's a dumb way to live, and I'm not doing it. Look at this. When I was a kid, I was eating a Tootsie Pop. And when I was a kid, my dad always said, if you eat a Tootsie Roll Pop, and this was back in the day when it was Indian, obviously now we would never say that. We would rightly and respectfully say either indigenous peoples or Native Americans or the people we stole the land from. If you found one of those fine noble warriors on your wrapper, you can kind of see him here. My dad would say you would get a wish. And so my brother and I, whenever we would go into what was called the country store, we would buy Tootsie Pops and we would hope we'd get an Indian, Native American, we'd get our wish. Well, it turns out that wasn't true, obviously. But it also turns out that there has been a perpetual rumor, or a persistent, I should say, rumor for decades that if you do get the Native American character, you can send that wrapper into Tootsie Pop, Tootsie Roll, and they'll give you another Tootsie Pop, like a free one. And that sucks because it turns out Tootsie Pop says, yeah, that's not true. That's been a rumor. We don't know how that rumor got started. But the point is, welcome to Gabbin' and Games for the March. We're running late today, and I'm going to show you how we're running late and why we're running late today. We're running late because over here, just so you know, I'm trying to make the screen for gaming and for the internet nicer. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening to the podcast. I'm showing the internet screen where I have the God of War members and the Cult of Calypso members, and it's not done yet because I struggled all day and I still am not totally happy with it. Trying to give more screen real estate to all the important things, which include the sponsors and the ads and the Cult of Calypso members and the God of War members, as well as the obvious screen that we're talking about. On top of it, as some of you know, I have the blazing ADD, and I have these wonderfully supportive Cult of Calypso members, and the members come in and out relatively frequently. I mean, we're growing, but some will move down a tier, up a tier, some will just take off and leave. And I was having to hand paste those in every single time a member changed, and I was falling behind. And so anyway, the point is that's what I've been working on longer today than I had time for, and that's why we're late, and I apologize. Yes, there is a podcast, Jacob Martin. If you go over to buzzsprout.com, you'll see the link in the link tree below. You can listen to this as a podcast. So, all right, let's talk about video games. That's why you're here, other than to see my beautiful visage. Let me get a sip of the bubbly, and we will get started on our first topic. I want to let you know, though, by the way, Friday morning, 10 a.m., Dead Space remake, not remaster. They're building this motherfucker from the ground up. They're putting in stuff that was cut from the first game, new animations, brand new mechanics. They're going to take mechanics from 2 and 3 that people seem to love and bring them into 1. The developers are doing a stream. I will be streaming their stream, and we'll be talking about it this coming Friday. We'll still have a Gabbin' and Games, but I want to let you know, if you're interested in such malarkey, that is happening very, very soon for you. It ain't Callisto, Prophecy, which is the actual Dead Space makers are making their horror game. I'm more excited about that, but the more I hear about Dead Space Remaster, I'm pretty excited to see what they're up to. Brandon Martin says, hello, governor. Could Sony learn from Nintendo, like doing directs that are 40 minutes long that just get to the point with their releases? Sony's state of play has been really weak. We will talk about that in just a little bit. One more thing. Look what I got in the mail. Somebody named Rocker Matt, yes, our very own Rocker Matt, says, Jaffe, you have not played the Dark Souls trilogy. And I'm like, well, I've played Elden Ring, and I've played Bloodborne, and I've played Demon Souls. He says, yes, child, but that's like saying you've had sex, but you've only fucked blow-up dolls. The true meaning of the Souls experience is these 3 buttes right here. And he went out and he procured them. And I says, well, I don't need you to buy me video games. He's already bought me a couple. He wants me to play them on the stream. He bought me a wonderful game from Tim Schafer's company, where you're Eddie, the roadie. What's that fucking game called? The rock and roll game with Jack Black, and then one other game. So I'll be playing some of these on stream, but I got to get through Elden Ring first. But thank you, Rocker Matt. These did come in today, and I'm very grateful and very appreciative. Thank you, sir. Okay. News. The news has begun. Come on now, who's hyper? This is what you get, man. This is what you get when I have a little nap before the show. Look at this, Bungie. Now this here, I want to tell you why this is interesting, and there is absolutely no guarantee that this is what it. Brutal Legend, thank you, Eddie. There's no guarantee this is what it says it is, but it kind of sounds interesting. Bungie's working on a new third-person action game. A new job posting, this is from Games Radar, confirms the project's on the way. Fuck you, Spazbo. He says, you're never going to get through Elden Ring, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. It looks like developer Bungie's next gaming project could be very well a third-person shooter. There's a little weird writing in this article because it says they're looking to hire on their Bungie's career page. So if you're a developer out there and you fancy working at a Sony company that operates independently, give them a shout. There are a few details, but they're looking for a creative director. Hey, I should go for that job. I'm kidding. Don't fucking come at me. Third-person action game, creative director for a third-person action game. They're also looking for an incubation contract level designer position, and that's why this guy seems like maybe it's for Destiny. I don't understand his correlation or his connection between hiring a game director for a third-person action game, which is not Destiny, and looking for someone for Destiny to suggest. It doesn't matter. The point is, it looks like Bungie could very well be making a third-person action game. Their first new game since they became a company and since Destiny is the only thing they've ever put out, Destiny 1 and 2. I bring this up because it's interesting. I mean, I'm really interested at a level of we saw Marathon. If you followed Bungie back in the day, Marathon was their shooter before Halo, which was a Macintosh exclusive, which I played and I enjoyed, but I didn't spend too much time with it. And then obviously Halo and Destiny. But we haven't really seen them. I guess they did Oni. I think they did Oni, which was like a third-person PlayStation 2 anime-inspired title. And then they did something else before they jumped to Destiny. But we don't really know these guys and gals as a creative powerhouse beyond these franchise titles. So it's kind of exciting to go, oh my God, they're really going to stretch outside their comfort zone. What are they going to come up with? What are they going to create? The other thing that is interesting is my first knee jerk was, oh, this is great. Sony PlayStation's going to get another exclusive, and it's going to be a third-person action adventure exclusive, and it's going to be from one of the best developers on the planet. But then it turns out that I remember the Jim Ryan conversation, which was like, yeah, we're acquiring this company, Bungie, but they're not necessarily, they're going to run themselves how they want to run themselves. So it could be exclusive. It could not be exclusive. It probably won't. Why would it need to be? Why would they not put it on PC? Why would they not put it on Xbox unless they feel that there's no money for Xbox? So I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's I get it, and I think Jim Ryan was correct to acquire Bungie and say, we don't care what you guys do with your own games, we just need help with live service games. I do think that's going to pay off meaningfully for PlayStation, but it does kind of suck if you're a PlayStation fan or if you own a piece of hardware. It's exclusives don't make your system better or worse in the sense that if you own it, you're still going to get to play it, probably. You could die is what I mean. Like if you're excited to play it and then you die, you can't play it. But assuming you survive and you have the funds to acquire it, you can play it if it's on PlayStation. It doesn't matter if it's on other things. But it just, it feels weird. Feels weird. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Just feels weird, right? It's kind of like anal sex. Michael Pachter came out, but that's private. That's for him to talk about. I'm hyper today, fellas. I don't know what to tell you. Michael Pachter comes out, speaking of PlayStation. Maybe there won't be a PlayStation to play on. I don't know. PlayStation is doomed. Those are his words. Literally, the quote is, I think PlayStation is doomed, and I think they're going to cease to exist as we know them in about 10 years. Now, I like Michael Pachter. He's a little bit of an odd bird because he'll hit me up on social media and he'll say, Jaffe, I want to come on your show there. And I'll be like, great. So I'll send him a direct message. This happened twice now. I'm like, cool, Pachter. I'm so excited. You publicly said you want to come on Gabbing Games. And then I never hear from him again. I don't know what, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But the point is, he's on a podcast called the Real Deal Xbox Podcast. This is from comicbook.com. Industry analyst Mike Pachter says he believes PlayStation's already knocking on death's doors and on his borrowed time. Here's the other part of the quote. This is interesting. He says they can't compete, meaning PlayStation. They have no chance of competing. He went on to say that Xbox Game Pass is Microsoft's meal ticket and the extensive variety of content makes it more lucrative than what PlayStation is offering. I just, okay. And then some people, chimed in on social media about, well, Pachter predicted this and he was wrong, and he predicted that and he was wrong. None of these guys are always right, obviously. And let's be clear, this is 10 years down the road. So, the guy's older than I am. I'm 50. He's probably, 60, 58? I don't fucking know. In 10 years, you can be like, what? I don't give a fuck what I said 10 years ago. So, the only thing is Pachter does run a firm where he is giving out advice for money for investors in this space. So, as much as I know he likes to fuck around and play with the fans and he enjoys the fans and everything, I don't think he would say something that he didn't genuinely believe in just to troll. That's not, A, he's an old man like me, and B, more importantly, there's a sense of, it's his job, right? So I think he believes this. And I believe this too. Certainly, I believe consoles are doomed. There's no doubt. That's a ridiculous concept to assume consoles will be around forever. Or 10 years. 10 years makes a lot of sense. 5 years we'll start seeing it probably because everything's going to go streaming. But whatever. We're not going to get into that conversation. But he's talking more specifically, I think, about PlayStation going away because not being able to compete as they are now. Because he says they'll cease to exist as we know them. He's not saying Sony's going away. PlayStation may not even go away. But he's talking about them as the company we know now. I think he's right that they can't compete with Xbox or something like Xbox. But, to be fair, though, Xbox is like, this is what it's like for me. I like these analogies. Like, I think software-wise, it's very, very clear that PlayStation is a Ferrari, and Xbox is it's like a Lexus. Maybe it's what's between. It's like it's not a Corolla. It's like a Camry. It's nice. It's got some nice features, but it's not going to break down and get you where you're going. It's very dependable and very workmanlike. Okay, but when it comes to potential, I think Xbox is the fucking Ferrari, but the problem is they don't know how to drive it yet. They're like sitting there behind the manual going, I've never driven a stick shift before. What is this? What's a clutch? What do I do with that, right? That's what I think's happening, because as much as they are primed to do what Pachter is saying and basically change the game, with all their acquisitions, with their eventual cadence of dropping titles on Game Pass, boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, you won't be able to survive it. You just won't be able to survive it if you're someone like Sony and you don't have a way to compete against that. I'm sorry, that's just, as the Brits say, maths. It is, okay? But here's the thing. This motherfucking company allegedly spent $500 million on Halo. And they can't put out a cockadoodie map? We've had the same goddamn content in Halo since, November, December? This is a games as a service. Fortnite puts out content constantly. Hell, Fall Guys puts out more content than the goddamn Halo team, spending $500 million goddamn dollars. So there's something going on where, as much as they've got the lay of the land and they've got a perfect map to victory and a perfect vehicle to take them there, I don't think there's somebody that's not doing their job over there. But assuming they get that together, and they probably will, if not, they're morons. I think Pachter's absolutely right. I think he's absolutely right. You realize the World Wars, I'm not even reading that. I'm not reading that because I have ADD and it's distracting and it's a good comment, but it's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. Okay. Let's move on. I want to tell you something. And by the way, the chat's a little delayed today. Fuck you, Mo. Mo says you don't know what you... Let me explain something to you, Mo. Mo in the chat, our good member, our good friend Mo says, you don't know what you're talking about, Jaffe. Why would you type that and not follow it up? Why would you type that and go, by the way, you can call in if you want to talk without the delay, but there's a weird delay happening on the chat. It's not my problem. It's my problem. It's not my fault, but it will be fixed tomorrow. I know what's going on. Jacob Martin, yes, it does. Fuck you. Fuck you. Jacob Martin says, Fall Guys does not put out more content. Ha ha. They put out the same amount of microtransaction costumes. They have put out new levels. They have put out new costumes, and they have put out new modes. We've been with the same goddamn cockadoodie maps, most of which are really fucking good, by the way, since the game launched. Since the goddamn game launched. Mo comes in hot like a moron saying, Jaffe, you don't know what you're talking about. And my answer to that would be this for you, Mo.
Stupid idiot.
You goddamn right. Because let me tell you something, Mo. Follow up. Why don't I know what I'm talking about? What is it that I said that's wrong? You're telling me that there's not... are you saying I'm wrong that Halo is in a problem state? Because they goddamn are. They fucking got... You can't deny that. No, fuck your fanboy... It's so stupid. Allegiance to fucking consoles. You don't put out a games as a service game and forget the service part. That's what they've done. Wolfblood gets it. He says, yup, 343 needs to be reassessed. You goddamn right it does. Goddamn right it does. That's a good idea, Stonerface. Fall Guys needs a create a level mode. That would be great. That would be great. Bukaki says, you're out of here, Mo. Bukaki's on a high because we played his music. Now he's going to ban everybody who's even a little bit mean to me. It's like when a dog at a junkyard, you throw him some steak, he's your best fucking friend. Just don't forget the steak. I won't forget the steak, Bukaki. That's Michael Pachter. Listen to this, though. Seriously. Let's get serious for a moment because this is important. This is fascinating. Speaking of Microsoft and Xbox. Metacritic puts out their 2022 game publishing rankings. Oh, Thomas Isaacs, nobody's saying Sony is dead. Pachter didn't even say Sony is dead. What he said was in 10 years, you won't recognize Sony, or more specifically, PlayStation as we know them. And he's got a pot to piss in when it comes to his logic. You simply, or Mo simply going, no, we don't, that's not right. Well, he's at least offering some logic. What are you offering? Other than highly suspicious, bizarre, potentially sociopathic fanboy allegiance to a company that doesn't give a fuck about you. It's a good idea. Touchy says hire more people and rename the company. Instead of 343, call it 686. That's right. That's right. Josh says PlayStation's on top. Yeah, they're on top. Woohoo! I made the right choice. I don't feel like a loser like I usually do because I picked the right box to buy. Let me tell you something. My good friend who just said that, he's like, Mom, this guy's so mean to me on the stream. Why are you listening to that man? He's terrible. But Mom, he worked on God of War. Listen to me. 2022 game publisher rankings. This is how they did it. Sales and user reviews do not factor into their rankings, only critic reviews, as captured by Metacritic score. They have 4 criteria they used to come up with the total point value. Average Metascore for all games released in the last year. Percentage of scored products with good reviews, which is at least a 75. Percentage of scored products with bad reviews, 49 or lower in this case. A lower percentage is better to have, of course. If you only have 20%, it's worth less points than 80%, right? Finally, number of great titles, meaning Metascore 90 or higher, okay? So think about that. Think about that. Average Metascore, and then they also have some bonuses for a good game, a bad game, and a great game, right? All those get thrown in there. And I want to tell you the top 20 they come up with. They say, I want you to know, though, note that the Metascore average, that first factor, counts slightly more than the other factors. And only publishers with 5 or more distinct titles released last year get to be included. I want to tell you where things worked out in the top 20. Oh, Mr. Sarcastic says, I think what he's trying to say is meaningless, but he wrote meaningles. Have you tried the new meaningles from Nesty's Candy? It's the greatest sensation in your mouth since your father showed you his pickle. Come on down and get yourself a meaningle from Mr. Sarcastic. I'll get these super chats in just a second. Thank you, fellas. Number 20 is Raw Fury, which, you guys remember one of the first great gaming podcasts was Weekend Confirmed with Garnet Lee. I want to say Garnet Lee has gone on to work now at Raw Fury. I think that's where he works now. This is off in Sweden somewhere. They're at a 74 Metacritic, number 20. If you don't know, they put out Town Scraper this year. They also put out that Call of the Sea game. It's not bad. They were 20 last year. They're 20 now. What are you going to do? 19 is Ubisoft. That's pretty low for a big fucking company. They're at 74 average Metacritic. Number 18 is Annapurna, which is surprising given that they're one of the most consistently high-rated publishers on the goddamn planet. But this year, though, they put out no great games. They had Last Stop, 12 Minutes, The Artful Escape. They had that Dead game where you can communicate with the dead by their objects. They had Maquette. And that's true. There were a number of things this year that really just didn't blow the doors off. And it's interesting. It's interesting because they've taken Nate Gary, who is the head of Annapurna Interactive, and now he's the head of Annapurna Productions. Movies, TVs, video games, Candy Factory, all kinds of things they make over there. So maybe moving Nate wasn't the best thing, at least for their Metacritic, but maybe Annapurna's like, I don't give a fuck. You know how much money we make off the movies? Put Nate over there. I don't know. Number 17 is Focus Entertainment. They're at a 72. They make Curse the Dead God, Streets of Rage 4. That was a great goddamn game. 16 is Plug-In Digital. Never heard of them. They make The Forgotten City. Whatever. 15 is Koei Tecmo. All right, still hanging in there. Man, they've been around for a while. Me and my buddy in Alabama used to play Tecmo Bowl, which was like a game from Tecmo, which was football. It was fun. I'll slow down. Oh my God, number 14 is Nintendo. I thought they'd be up there. Number 14 is Nintendo. They were 9 last year. Average Metacritic 76. I'm telling you guys, don't fuck with me. Who's been in this business for over fucking 20 years? What the fuck you think you're talking to? What Metroid fanboy fucksticks? What have I been telling you guys? The Mario magic. The brilliant Nintendo magic. I'm getting Kirby. I played the demo. I'm getting Fire Emblem. I love Fire Emblem. Don't come at me like I don't know my fucking Nintendo. But this last couple of years has not been strong for Nintendo. And that includes Metroid. You can say whatever the fuck you want. Say whatever the fuck you want. Even the new Metroid and Super Mario failed to cross the 90 mark. So fuck off. Fuck off with your fanboy allegiance. That's the theme of this show. That's the thesis statement of this paper I'm turning into my English professor, is fuck your fanboy allegiance. Number 14, Nintendo. That's where you deserve to be right now. Find some of the Miyamoto magic. Get back in the saddle. 13 is Dangan Entertainment. I don't know what the fuck that is. Their biggest game was Astalon Tears of the Earth. Fuck you. Square Enix, who can't seem to make a game that doesn't, according to their analyst, underperform, is number 12. They put out one great game this year, which I guess was Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker. But they also put out Balan Wonderland, so you got to be careful, man. It's the best of times, the worst of times. Number 11, Devolver Digital, that makes sense. They are on the come up, as the kids like to say. 76, they're the ones who put out Death's Door, Inscription, Loop Hero. Come on now. They're the problem with Devolver Digital, in my mind, is as a developer, they were always the guy who could go to my agent and say, hey, I want to make this quirky, weird fucking thing for under $2 or $3 million. We never pitched him. But it was always one of those developers that could do that. Now with Fall Guys and Death's Door, they're starting to become, like, I hope they never lose that sort of indie flavor, which allows developers that want to play in that AA space to continue to play. But once you start getting that money from Fall Guys, you start kind of playing in those leagues. Maybe it's hard to go back. I don't know. Here we go. Top 10. 505 Games, which is surprising. I hear they're not great to work with. That's the goddamn truth. Our number one ranked publisher 2 years ago, says Metacritic. 505 Games fell out of our top 10 last year, but returned to the upper tier this year. 3 out of every 4 products they came out with got a good review. The publisher's best reviewed game was A Port of Control. Okay. Number 9 is Electronic Arts. Okay. All right. There you go. It Takes Two was a big reason, as was Knockout City. Not so much Battlefield 2042. Sega was last year's number 1. So this is not most successful. This is best in terms of quality based on the criteria I gave you at the beginning of the goddamn Cock-a-Doodle story. The Yakuza shows, the Yakuza games were really what kind of helped him get there. Number 7, Best Publisher of the Year, Bandai Namco. That kind of starts to track a little bit, doesn't it? Tales of Arise was a very well-reviewed game. They released half as many products, but those games were much better, says Bandai. And, of course, they've got the Game of the Year frontrunner, which I would be stunned if it loses that position, Elden Ring, which they just put out last week, which is selling gangbusters. Number 6 is one of the greatest video game companies in the world. By the way, Chad, I'm not ignoring you. I'm going to get to you. I just want to burn through these, and then I'll let you have your peace of mind and your what you want to say. Capcom, one of the greatest video game companies in the world. They dropped from number 3 going down to number 6. They got an 80%. 82% good games. No great games this year, but no bad games this year. Obviously, Monster Hunter Rise, Ghosts and Goblins, Resurrection did not receive positive reviews. Didn't they also put out the Cock-a-Doodle Resident Evil Village was this year as well, right? That was in the last 12 months. Number 6 is Capcom. Here we go. Top 5. Bethesda. Microsoft's Bethesda. 87% good. I guess Deathloop did it, and the remastered version of Quake did it. This year ahead could be another big one, says Metacritic, as its lineup includes the highly anticipated titles Starfield and Ghostwire Tokyo. Okay? Here we go. Number 4. Activision Blizzard. Well, this is proof there is no God. Big Bad Bobby Kodak's company's the number 4 best publisher of the year. It's because of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, a new game in the Crash Bandicoot series. That was last year, though. I don't know. Was there a new Crash this year? Maybe it was on different systems, like the Switch got it. It's a brilliant fucking game. Obviously, they had Call of Duty Vanguard that was disappointment. But there you go. Number 4 is Microsoft's Activision Blizzard. Here we go. Number 3. Where's Sony in this? Where's Microsoft in all this? Humble Games, number 3. You goddamn right. 88% good. No great this year. But they did put out Unsighted and Unpacking, 2 of the best fucking games of last year. Just fucking brilliant. If you haven't played Unsighted or Unpacking, they're both on the goddamn Cock-a-Doodle Game Pass, so you don't have to spend much money because they're free. Fuck you, you know what I mean. Go get them. Number 2. Well, look at this. They've jumped up 2 spaces, but they still can't grab number 1. Sony PlayStation is the number 2 game publisher of the year, according to Metacritic. 91% of games were good. No bad ones, no great ones. They published Ratchet & Clank, Ghost of Tsushima, the Director's Cut, or the PS5 version, and Death Stranding. Yeah, those were the big titles, and they all were rated good, 81. Which only leaves Philip Spencer's company at number 1, sitting on top of the hill. They were 6 last year. They're number 1 this year. 100% good, 0% bad. 3 great games out of the games they published. Listen to this. It's very rare for a publisher to average above 80 for its releases across a single calendar year, but how often does a company average above 85? Well, Metacritic will tell you never. Not until this year, folks. Our runaway winner of this year's Publisher of the Year honors Microsoft certainly published fewer titles than last year in a typical year. That's for goddamn sure. But what games it did publish were uniformly excellent. 3 different titles scored 90 or higher. Forza, Psychonauts, and Microsoft Flight Sim. Their successes almost make Halo Infinite seem like a disappointment with a mere 87. Now, I want you to think about that. Remember I said they were the Ferrari, but they don't know how to drive it? You goddamn right. They don't know how to drive the goddamn cock-a-doodie car. Because if they did, we'd be getting drops all the goddamn time, but we're not. And so something's going on over there. But that's pretty fucking impressive. And that's pretty cool. You got Microsoft and Sony fighting out. Look at Nintendo way out of the top 10. What's going on with those fucks? Let me get to Super Chats. Drive-by Joe, thank you, buddy. He says, this just in. David Jaffe agrees with Pachter. Sony's dead in 10 years or less. But that's not what Pachter said. Pachter said PlayStation as you know it will not be PlayStation as you know it in 10 years. And I agree with that. Not just semantically, like, you see, there'll be different cups of coffee and that wins the argument. I mean, it won't be PlayStation consoles as you know it. Mo, thank you, buddy, for the super chat. He says, I love you, Jaffe. I'm saying we haven't seen the end game of both Sony and Microsoft. Game Pass won't survive the way it is. Sure it will. Neither Sony third-party publishers won't be doing Xbox because of Game Pass and no sales, etc. Mo, all I can tell you, pal, is, let me ask you a question, Mo. And I love you and I want to make a baby with you, but I want you to think about this for a moment. Let me ask you this. When you or people like you comment, like, where you either have the cockiness, confidence, gall, or sheer idiocy to comment that Game Pass will not be sustainable, it's not making money, it won't work. Does it ever occur to you that it's kind of the equivalent of arguing with a rocket scientist about how their plan to get to Mars isn't going to work because you've done your own calculations on a napkin while you were waiting for your buffalo wings to come at Dave & Buster's? I mean, does it ever occur to you that one of the biggest companies in the history of this planet maybe hires people that, have, maybe degrees in things like economics and player psychology and calculating return on investment and, smart business people to run the numbers before they commit to things like, spending billions. How much did they just buy Activision for? $70 billion, right? How much did they buy Bethesda for? You think they're like, we should have talked to Mo. Fuck you guys. Wait, Mo could have told us. He wasn't busy. He was waiting for his buffalo wings. He could have told us. Does it ever occur to you that that's what you're doing? And if it doesn't, where did you get your confidence from? Because you should bottle that. What's the possibility, says Jacob Martin, that Microsoft might hand Halo over to Infinity Ward? Everything. I mean, yes. I don't think they will because I think Call of Duty is a bigger brand at this point. They can hand it over to id, maybe. And again, I think 343. This is why I keep talking about the Ferrari thing. It's not like they're shit. It was my number 2, not that I matter, but I mean, even according to Metacritic, it was an 87 reviewed game. Halo Infinite, I thought, was wonderful. I finished the campaign. I played a shit ton of multiplayer. One of my favorite, probably top 2 online shooters of all time. It's a brilliant foundation. What's weird about it is the management. How do you launch that and let months go by without anything? That's the issue. It's not that they need someone to make the game. They need a manager over there, I think. VG says Sony also released Destruction All-Stars this year, which was total trash. Was that this year, though? Sony folks try to pretend the game doesn't exist. It was, again, that's... you're not going to get away with that shit here. You might get away with that shit, when you're hanging out with your girlfriends, and watching The Bachelor. It's like, Destruction All-Stars was trash. It was, VG. You might, but you won't get away with it here, VG. You don't get to say that game was trash. That game looked great. It had, towards the end, pretty goddamn good netcode. It was ambitious. The characters felt great. It was a very well-made product, other than some core netcode issues that had a real hard time figuring out ramming online. It didn't have stickiness. The design wasn't necessarily very good, but trash? Come on now. Don't be a moron. Learn to articulate. Learn to say what you mean. You don't mean that. And if you do mean that, come on. Josh Douglas, come on, it's trash. No, it's not. No, it's not. How is it trash? How? It is not a sumo game. It is a lucid game. It was not made by Sumo. But that said, though, it was still directed by, it was under the umbrella of Sony. Doug says Destruction All-Stars had a generic soulless Fortnite art style. The gameplay wasn't fun. It was a husk of a game. Yes, all those things are accurate for the most part. But it wasn't trash. It just wasn't, it was a very well-made game. But it just didn't work. Well, Nawdog says Sony has demo pass. Now that's trash. We haven't seen what they have yet. We'll have to see. I think that can work really, really well. Okay, let me get some more of these chats. Thank you guys. I appreciate it, fellas. Goofy Rasta says, Jaffe, what's up, Papa Jaffe? 2 questions. You got it, pal. What can I do for you? Welcome to the show, Goofy Rasta. How good are you at Twisted Metal games? And where are the white women at? I enjoy your shows. Thanks for the good topics and entertainment. You're very welcome, buddy. Thank you for your support. The white women, they're around. They're around a lot where I live. We're diverse here. You know what I saw yesterday? I was looking at the 343 website. Was it 3? Yeah, it was 343 website. I'm not sure what brought me there yesterday. And they have on the cover or the top of the head, whatever the fuck, in the beginning of the website, they have a group shot of everybody. And I was like, okay, well, there are 2 black dudes. That's pretty rare. I mean, it's getting less rare, thank God. But they did have a lot of women, a lot of men, and a lot of Asian folks. But again, I do think the industry should work harder to get more black voices into games. But I don't know if it's the industry so much as it might be. The industry could do their part, but I was going to say it might also just be, somebody explained to me once about the access of computers in, not that obviously every black person is in the inner city, but this person was a black person saying, well, my problem was I grew up and we didn't have access to computers. My kids do now because he doesn't live there anymore. So I don't know. I would love to see Sony and Microsoft. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, brown, whatever, but donating a lot of PCs and shit and game software content to these schools. I think that would be amazing. Okay. But your other question though, am I good at Twisted Metal games? No, not really. Not against the people who really excel at those titles. There are people who are genuinely really fucking good at those games. I'm not one of them, but I enjoy them. You goddamn right. Jarvie Rock says, speaking of demos, it took Square Enix all day just to release a demo. It finally dropped before Jaffe started. I mean, right? What the fuck, man? I mean, think about this. Those videos for State of Play, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. Those that State of Play video, which is what it was, obviously, it wasn't a live show. I've worked for Sony. They're editing those things, and PR's chiming in, and marketing's chiming in, and oh no, we need to pull this shot because of this. You're doing that up until the last second. And is it possible they didn't know when the demo would go live, so they had the lady record 2 lines? The demo's available now, or the demo will be available later today, because they had to get it through Sony first-party QA, which is a lot more, they have these checks they have to run to make sure it's not going to brick your system. So, yeah, it's possible. And it's better to have a demo, that doesn't brick your fucking system. But at the same time, though, like I said, this game comes out in a couple weeks. You'd think that Square would be like, this is important, right? This is top of mind. People just walked out of Sony's State of Play video. Let's get them. Let's hand them a demo. We're in, fellas. We didn't start working on that demo yet until... you want us to do that first before you wanted me to change the color of the menu? Yes, Cletus, I did. Oh, well, hell, that's going to take longer than I thought. What you doing for lunch? They got the barbecue today in the cafeteria. All I'm telling you about this is man, once you've worked with good managers, and I've worked with Nick Conanellis, I've worked with Scott Campbell, I've worked with Shannon Studstill, 3 of the cock-a-doodie goddamn best video game managers in the goddamn cock-a-doodie business. Once you've worked with the best, you recognize shit management. You think fucking Nick Conanellis wouldn't get... He produced the game. That game shipped when it was supposed to ship based on when Sony wanted it. It's my fault a lot of people didn't play it. But the goddamn thing hit its marks, hit its targets every single goddamn time. You think he would have been like, didn't have this on his radar 6 months ago? That we got to have this fucking demo ready? The game comes out in 2 weeks. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Miko says, Jaffe, it was the worldwide release. The Japanese trailer specified the time of the demo release. And that is stupid. I'm sorry, it's stupid. If you're going to put out a state of play and it's going to hit different time zones, then you fucking drop it in the time zones when the people are watching, or at least in the territories. You know that in America, you could have dropped it in that zone, you know, from East to West Coast. Okay. Mo says... Oh, really? Is it getting annoying? I'm sorry, Mo. Well, don't say stupid shit. Mo says, where's Mo? Mo says, Jaffe, this dismissiveness is getting annoying. I'm saying that Game Pass will change. So would Sony. Microsoft won't be bringing all Activision shit to Game Pass exclusively. That has nothing to do with anything. That has absolutely nothing to do with what you said, Mo. You literally said you were going after the Game Pass business model. And I'm trying to find your comment, but it's here it is. I'm saying we haven't seen the end game. Game Pass won't survive the way it is. Why? Right? That's what you said. You didn't say Activision won't be putting their stuff on there. But what are you talking about? Of course, I mean, what's being dismissive of your comment was Game Pass won't survive the way it is. That's what I was responding to. I didn't paraphrase it, Jacob. I literally just read it to you. Love you, Jaffe. I'm saying we haven't seen the end game of both Sony and Microsoft. Game Pass won't survive the way it is. What's paraphrased about that? My God. Family Guy Dog, thank you so much for joining the Diet Soda Soldiers. You know I appreciate that, buddy. Come here. Let me give you a little smoke of the pipe. There you go. Put some love in there for you. I put some of Mo's lack of respect he feels I've given him, his dismissiveness, which I love Mo, but I'm not going to, not get into it with him. There you go, buddy. That's for you, Family Guy Dog, a.k.a. Brian. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you, sir. Nick is the MVP. You goddamn right. Doge and I worked together with Nick. Nick's amazing. Zaf, it is a big deal, though. Let's talk about this. It is a big deal. I'm not saying it's a big deal like the sky is falling, but I'm saying when you say plenty of companies do that, meaning the demo's coming later today, it's not a big deal. I'm telling you it's a big deal. Okay, and I don't mean that like emotionally it's a big deal. Let me ask you a question. If you made video games, and you might, I don't know what you do. If you're making a video game and it's coming out in a couple of weeks, and you have all eyes on State of Play. I don't know how many people watch those, but it's certainly more than just watch a trailer that comes out from Square, unless it's like a huge announcement. And it comes out, they're all watching State of Play, and in a few weeks your big game comes out. And they say, and the demo comes later today in your biggest territory, because it's not like Japan is selling many fucking PlayStation games. And it's like, oh, yeah, sometime later today. Well, most people probably right then and there or right after left State of Play, went to their PlayStation, turned it on and said, I can't find it, and went on with their life. And a lot of people probably forgot about it. So they've missed a great opportunity to have it on social media while people were still awake, people were still talking. It's like fucking, what is it in New York on the East? It's like 10 o'clock on the East goddamn cock-a-doodie coast. So it's not a big deal like, oh my God, the sky is falling, but it's a big deal, and then it reflects poor planning, poor management, poor execution. And if it was my game, I'd be pissed. I would be pissed as shit, man. Scott Woodford says, does Mo have salt? Happy Wednesday, sir. Happy Wednesday to you too, Scott. Thanks for the super chat. I don't think Mo has salt. I think Mo just thought what I said was different. I don't fucking know what it is, but I'm tired of hearing about the lack of sustainability in XPass coming from not like, I'm one of them, by the way, just like Mo. I don't fucking know. I'm just kind of tired of hearing fucking, backseat drivers go on and on about what's sustainable and what's not. It's not exactly what you said, Mo. I'm going to move on, but Game Pass won't survive the way it is. Okay, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Mo. How is Game Pass? What is the way it is where they won't survive? What has to change to make them fucking survive? That's what I'd be curious about. Bacon Magma, will I visit Returnal? I'll talk about that when we talk about State of Play in just a couple minutes. Okay. Monley says, Jaffe, if it were not for Microsoft Game Pass, Sony would just keep doing what they're doing. We have to accept subscription services of the future. Yeah, don't tell me. I'm with you, pal. I'm totally with you, pal. All right. Bacon Magma, that's not what I'm saying. Bacon Magma says, I guess Microsoft, oh shit, I was going to bring in this guy in the waiting room. If you want to call in, man, I'll put you on right away. I guess Microsoft haven't made any bad business deals or mistakes, and they do everything correct. No, they don't. This is the problem with today's youths. What did I say over and over about Microsoft today? They're a Ferrari, but they don't know how to drive their fucking car. And then Bacon Magma comes at me, and all he heard was Microsoft can do no wrong. Why even try to be balanced? Why even try to communicate fairly? I get it wrong a lot of times. I'll cop to that. Of course I get it wrong. But why even make an effort? When I literally say to you guys, or to you, Bacon, in this case, you heard me say Microsoft is shitting the bed when it comes to the way they're managing shit. I don't understand how this could be happening given all the good shit they've done this year. And then you're like, what? You said they're perfect? No, I didn't. Call in this Jaffe, guys, please. He's crossing the line. I don't know what you're talking about, baby. Jaffe, he's 73 years old. You're the who's 73? Come on now, hit me up. I don't. Okay, let's move on. Okay, there we go. There's Batu. Sounds like a Star Wars character. Batu, you're on the show. What do you want to talk about, you old knucklehead?
So I'm thinking about Game Pass. I'm thinking about Netflix. I'm thinking about Hulu, and I'm thinking about all of these platforms. And one thing I see as a downfall and also Spotify is basically it's like the homogenation of all these mediums. So it's like if you're an avid music listener, it harkens back to like in my early 20s. My brother was like getting me into music, and we're sitting there, sitting back, drinking rum and cokes, and we're listening to his vinyl, and I'm just totally getting into the vibe of the music, and it's like I had a higher appreciation for it because it wasn't just given to me in such such an easy way. Like I actually had to work for it, and so I think that's like one of the things that makes Sony and Microsoft so different in the way they're approaching things. Is Sony's like, you really like games, you really have a passion for what we do, and here it is. And then Microsoft, on the other hand, is more like, here's Game Pass. Yeah, lots of these games are old or they're not that great, but it's pretty cheap for the monthly price. But you're not getting that sort of experience. So yeah, that's my take on it. I think they're more viable.
Allow me to do a couple things. Allow me to say, wow, it's very articulate. It's well articulated, and I appreciate that. But I think you're blinded, and it makes you incorrect. And I want to tell you how I think that is, and tell me where I'm wrong. when you say Game Pass, the games aren't as good. I literally just finished a story. Now, again, it's not the guys at Metacritic going, we like Microsoft more. They're just looking at the maths and saying Microsoft's the number one publisher last year because of what they published and what collectively the aggregate came together and said they published the games with the best reviews. All of those games they cited were day one drops on Game Pass. Why would you suggest that the games on Game Pass are not very good?
Okay, I guess I wouldn't say, okay, that was probably not the right thing to say. It's not so much that they're not that good. It's just like, there's always this like really kind of a cheap veneer with Xbox. It's always been. Like ever since like the first Xbox, and since then, like the 360 era, it's like there's always been like this cheap veneer. Like all their first party stuff has this like, it's like they can go that extra mile, but they just don't. They're just like, nah, we're good. And I actually, I was a game tester for Xbox, and I worked on Crackdown, and then I don't think NDA matters anymore. It's out. And I sat down. I remember my first day. I sat down on that thing, and I was like, this is fucking horrible.
Right.
Like you guys realize how bad this is, right? And everyone's like, yeah, we do. They just don't care. Like I mean, it'd be like a Seb too, but I'd be like, this is clearly like needs to be fixed. Like it's like it doesn't look good. Mm-hmm. And they come back at me and like, nah, as designed. And I'm like, are you shitting me? Because I'm a 3D artist, so I'm like, really? I know this is not as designed.
But that's okay. But part of that is what it means to just not be in the driver's seat. I mean, anybody who's working on something, whether you're a designer or a QA person, everybody thinks they know better, and they do and they don't, because ultimately it's all subjective, right? But so part of it is that, because I mean everybody has experienced that working. When I was a tester at Sony, it's like, this is stupid. They should do this and they should do that, and it's like ultimately, when you get your chance to drive the car, you can drive it the way you want to drive it. But you're not. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong about the fact that historically, if you compare what Sony makes, and I've said this numerous times, and I still believe this, if you compare what Sony makes, the kind of things they make at a level of presentation and polish, and sort of just the sense of sort of how they present to the world, is a very fine 4-star Michelin rated steakhouse. And Microsoft feels a bit more like, McDonald's or maybe In-N-Out Burger. And that's fine. I don't think most people would argue that. Maybe they're going to change. They've said they want their own Last of Us, but so far they haven't really been able to pull that off. But ultimately, though, I mean, I think the argument that Game Pass is trash, I mean, I don't
think it's trash. I don't think it's trash at all.
But
I honestly think they both could carve their own niche markets. Like Nintendo's got the kiddie handheld, like, our graphics suck ass, but our games are super fun. That's their niche.
Yeah.
And then, Xbox, that's their niche. Their niche is like, okay, maybe you're not a hardcore gamer, but you just like want to sit down after a shitty day at work and you just want to pay $15 or $10 a month or whatever.
Depends.
And you just want to play the latest game, Like,
all right. Well, I mean, all I can tell you is I think, now again, I don't know what's going to happen because I do think they have a big management problem based on what's happening with their premiere game. But once they get their cadence down, if it is actually able to work, and you start dropping Bethesda games, and you start dropping games from Activision, and you start dropping games from Blizzard, and you start on and on, they're not all going to be 90s. It's not mathematically, I mean, it's possible, but it's not mathematically probable. But, you're going to have a lot of cool shit coming down the line, and I think
that's
that,
true.
But I want the more important point, because I do think this colors a lot of people who I speak with about video games, their view, which is this idea of you and your brother listening to vinyl. There is a romanticization. I don't know if you can overly romanticize. That's let me start again. You can romanticize your past because of nostalgia. And I'm not saying those moments with your brother weren't great. I'm not saying what you're saying wasn't a real thing that happened. But I have teenagers now, and I have a teenager who is, he plays bass, he plays guitar, he sings, his sister writes music. They're in love with music of all different time periods, right? they don't have the same touchstones as you guys of waiting for a midnight launch for a game. They just get it off, they get Fortnite or they get Among Us or they get Roblox. They don't have the same touchstones as a vinyl and this, but they're like, oh my God, I listen to my friends. What they will romanticize is my brother let me listen to his Spotify rap of last year, and he would never let me listen to his music before, and now I got to listen to it, and holy shit, I discovered these 3 artists and they changed my life. I mean,
so you don't think there's anything missing there then? There's no disconnect.
No, what's the disconnect? Just the way ultimately it's the artist has gotten their music.
Okay, well, let's go to the vinyl thing. Like, I'd say the disconnect is, in my humble opinion, I think an album is like it's a painting or it's a movie. Like you go from the very beginning song to the very end song.
Yeah,
it's meant to be listened to in that way. And these kids today, they listen to like the first song and then the 50, the not 50, there's not 50 songs on an album, but you know what I mean, like the 10th song on that same album, and they're just mixing up this. I don't know.
I hear you,
artist,
but
I'm like,
yeah.
Is that really how you want people to hear your album? No.
I know. Well,
I know,
but I think it's important as an artist to also understand that artists get to be manipulated too. The reason that albums are the way they are. I'm not saying that when because look, my kids for a while were into 21 Pilots, and they did it. The 21 Pilots put out an album that was a concept album, and they understood. You listen to the whole thing from back to front or front to back because you were hearing a story. That's different than when, and I think Evermore from Taylor Swift was the same. But that's different than Katy Perry puts out, 15 pop songs, right? I think they know the difference. But
Katy Perry.
Well, still, Katy Perry entertained a lot of people.
Pop though, I don't think it's real high concept there.
Okay, well, the point though,
I get what you're saying.
The point is that albums, by the way, I mean, the reason songs are like 3 minutes and 45 seconds or roughly that is because that's what would fit on the 45, and that's what the radio stations wanted to play, and that's what people bought. So, I mean, a lot of these things that we say this is why the art is the way it is a direct result of the commercialization of the art and how we've just simply been indoctrinated by it because that's been normalized to us. But ask yourself, what is more artistic? Having kids today listening to vinyl, or having anyone like my son or his friends, or I literally opened this stream today from Bukkake Drive-By's band Quitter, which I'd never heard of until I met Bukkake, but he's got a channel out there. His band's got a channel out there. They've got fans. Alex Plox has fans. Circus in the Sea has fans. These are all bands we've played on here before that I assure you, even though my audience is paltry, compared to what maybe Warner Brothers music could get you, it's more than a lot of people have heard their music before. You can do that back in the day. To me, that's more artistic. That's more romantic, that you don't even need these fucking assholes to tell you that's good music, that's bad music. You put your shit out and you can actually earn a living simply by expressing yourself and finding your right fans. That, my friend, is romantic. That is art. That is punk rock. That is brilliant to me. I don't see how you can't celebrate that.
I agree there. I mean, you don't need like that A&R guy to come and like find your band and then take you to a studio and give you the money to finally afford to like. And
then fuck you over and they own your master. Fuck you. Yeah. Fuck you.
Yeah, a lot of black artists got real ripped off.
Absolutely. All right, man. What a great call. I hope the audience enjoyed it. I sure did like talking to you. Call back anytime, buddy. I'll see you soon.
All right, see you.
All right, there he goes, man. Off into the evening. Thank you, Gabriel. Gabriel says, you're romantic, Jeff. You old so-and-so. You're making me blush. I got an erection. Should I tell you this story? Nah. All right. Hang on. Okay. I want to get back to Mo's comment. Oh shit. Let me get back to Mo's comment real quick. Cause we're going to move on, but I did want to address this. I like Mo. I'm fucking around with him. I mean, we're debating, but I like debate. Some people get uncomfortable with debate. I don't. I like it. It's fun. It's a fun way to spend an evening, fellas. I hope you agree. The production value on Sony first party games is insane. It is. And you know what's fascinating about it? Again, whether you like From Software or not, I'm not one of these high on the hog From Software people. But whether you like From Software or not, Elden Ring is going to be a watershed game. It is going to be a game that has reverberations. Am I saying that right? Certainly ripple effects, probably the same thing. Throughout the game industry and throughout game design. Sector says, ask that caller who just called to go back to getting in a car that needs a hand crank. Come on now. I'm looking for it, Mo. I am looking for it, buddy. Here it is. All I'm saying is copying exactly the Netflix model, which I don't think Microsoft's doing, to games doesn't mean it will be a success. Sure, no one's disagreeing. Because games are different than film, and we haven't seen the last iteration of the game subservice. No, we haven't seen the last iteration of anything. Everything's going to change, but I mean that goes without saying, which is why I don't think Pachter was referring to that. I think he's saying as you recognize it, it's going to change significantly. But games are obviously different than TV and film. But what's not different is the audience's propensity to consistently, which I guess would make it a propensity, the audience's chronic. How about this? Let's talk easy, Jeffy. Let's talk simple. You're not wise enough to talk smart. Here's what it is. The audience likes to go for things that are easy, low barrier of entry, and cheap. Aficionados don't have those limitations, and you guys are aficionados. I appreciate that. I respect that. Like the caller, he wants the vinyl. He wants the experience. Most people are like, that's not what I'm doing. I just want to fucking play a game. Oh, this is a good game. Right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not, that hasn't changed. Games, movies, books, things are going subscription because people think it's cheaper, and it usually is, and easier. It's got nothing to do with anything else. That has nothing to do with the medium. That has everything to do with how people simply choose what's easy. Jacob Martin says, how is Elden Ring going to change game design? Which aspect? I feel if Dark Souls hasn't changed games, this wouldn't either. Well, we discussed a couple of weeks ago who the most influential game director was, and even though I don't know if I would agree, a lot of people said Miyazaki of Souls and whatnot. And that's true. I mean, you've seen the influence on God of War, you've seen the influence on Fallen Jedi. There's no doubt, but I think Elden Ring has the potential to be as seismic to game design as Grand Theft Auto 3 was. In that, here's what I think it's done. And I'm not saying it's going to be as successful as Grand Theft Auto. Please listen to me. Jeffy, you're a moron. That's not going to sell as many. I know. I'm not saying that. The game still pushes people away. There's a lot of things that people are not willing because they like easy. And again, that's not a criticism. People have lives that are hard. And so when they game, a lot of people don't want to work that hard. I appreciate that. But there are things the game does that I think makes it very clear that when you show up with a game that understands the player mindset, it actually, to me, and maybe I'm alone in this, but I don't think I am, it actually, to me, makes a lot of those things that Sony first party gets lauded for. I don't mean Gran Turismo, which I hear is great. And I loved God of War. I love that game. Love Last of Us. Love Ghost of Tsushima. But all of that production flash, it really shows it, in my opinion, for what it is. Which is, it's nice, and it's beautiful presentation and beautiful polish, but it's like those developers last week that were complaining from Horizon and Ubisoft about how come everybody's loving on Elden Ring and, they don't understand user interface and they don't understand this. And it's like, dude, because you guys in development have been sold a bill of goods. You have been told that production value and polish and let's make the animation system the best it's ever been, and it's going to tween between these, it's going to have procedural tweening which is what tweening is, but we've been able to store so many more animations so it never looks like an animation. And Elden Ring is like, I don't care. I know what the gamer thinks when he's engaged with the game. And when you see that, when you see a game like Elden Ring succeed at the level it's succeeding and connecting with the people it's connecting with, how it's connecting, you look at something like Horizon. And again, I'm not mocking Horizon. I need to keep playing it. I've played about 4 hours of it. It's clearly a nice game. But in 4 years, Elden Ring will still be a game that people come back to and play, and they won't be coming back to Horizon. Because if you strip away the production value of Horizon, if you strip away the, oh wow, it's beautiful moments, the story's not great so far, at least so far. And the gameplay's pretty rote. That's all I'm fucking saying. That's all I'm fucking saying. I'll give you a great example, by the way. Give me a great example. I was going to put this later in the show. This is, hello RPG, good to see you, sir. This is the map from Elden Ring. We're not going to talk much about Elden Ring. But, and this is actually, I would never do this. I have it all turned off, but this is I'm going to turn it on real quick just to show you. This is an interactive map. It's a work in progress where people will write in and say, hey, I discovered this. So, boom. Oh, I want to see where all the dungeons are. Boom, right? So I'm not looking at that shit. I don't want to know that. I want to discover it on my own. But what I adore about this map is that if you play a game like Horizon, or if you play a game... Fuck you, Magic Circle. Jaffe, blabber mode on. Fuck you, motherfucker. Fuck you, motherfucker. Listen to me. If you play a game like Horizon or God of War or whatever... games I've worked on, I'm not saying I didn't do this. Miyazaki did this. How is Breath of the Wild any more different? I'm going to tell you right now. Here's one way. It's a tiny little thing, but it adds so much. So here's your map, right? In most games, it would be like, I need the 5 gems to put back together to kill the final boss. And on the map, it would be like, the blue gem is somewhere over here, and the map would be lit up. And I need to find these 3 items to get the key. And then it would be like, the 3 key items are somewhere over here. The map isn't a map so much as it is a visualized checklist, right? In Elden Ring, you can zoom in to this motherfucker within an inch of its life, pretty much. And everything is something, right? It's not just art, right? So I zoom into this little circle right here. That's a game. That's gameplay. That's there in that map. So what you gain from that, look at this. Oh, what's that? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Let me ride my horse over there from clear across the map and explore. Holy shit, that's a fucking new cave that has shit in it that I can go explore and find stuff. The interactive response, or the response you have to that level of interactivity, is so much more immersive than those open world games we're used to. Just the very nature of looking at a map and just seeing stuff that's usually just art. And it's like, no, these are landmarks. This is like, I don't know what that is, but that looks kind of interesting. The fuck is that? Let me go over and find out. It doesn't need a quest log. You can't go to any dungeon and start. There has to be an order. What? No, sure you can. I mean, certain ones you can't, but... Jaffe, a lot of people find that too overwhelming. They want a guide. Well, right, but what did I say, though? I said that I'm not saying Elden Ring is going to come along and every game is going to be Elden Ring. I'm saying that it's going to have seismic effects on game design, because I think when designers, just like Eco did, just like Shadow of the Colossus did, people were going to look back and say, I was heavily influenced by this. Because what this does is it shows gamers and designers that... Not the hand-holding. I agree. Games are commercial products. You don't want to make them too hard. You don't want to push people away if you're spending certain amounts of money. I get that. But this shines a huge light on the magic of the interactive part of the art form that I think has been lost to production value and polish, because this shit we're talking about is hard to think about. It's hard to articulate. It's hard to understand. It's hard to market. And so it's easy... Like, you guys saw that Forspoken trailer today from the Square game. The motion looked amazing. The parkour looked amazing. The game looked generic as fuck. And the character who's like, cracking wise and all this bullshit. It's like, to see something so rote like that and then be able to go back to Elden Ring and just lose yourself in this immersion. I'm sorry, it makes it look like it's archaic. It makes it fucking look archaic. That's all I'm telling you. So I'm telling you. Let me bring in Sector. Sector, it's Jaffe. What's up, man? Sector. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, just wanted to talk about that Game Pass situation there. So, basically, when people call in, I always hear that Game Pass isn't the future; it's not the future, and I don't know why. Um, I mean, there's a subset of people who just cannot handle change, and the industry moving forward the way it is, you'd have to try it to see, that is the future. Like right now, I haven't tried Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody raves about it. I'm actually downloading it right now. I'm 18% in, and I'm gonna try that and play it. I mean, that's just fantastic. I didn't have to spend anything. I spent $9.99 on PC,
Right.
and I'm gonna try the Guardian. It's gonna be amazing, and why can't we be proud of that? Why can't that be the future? Why does it have to be $70 box set game?
But the same reason that great caller earlier romanticizes vinyl, I think, because there is it's what you grew up with. It's what you're used to. Look, I'm not a moron. I loved opening a box today and getting 3 actual games I can hold in my hand, and I love hearing the shrink wrap, and I love the tactile aspect of it. I grew up with this shit. I used to love opening a box and getting a manual and a map and a fucking gold. Everything was a fucking collector's edition back when I was playing games as a kid.
Right.
One of the last manuals we ever did at Sony was the God of War manual. Because I was like, I really want a big beefy manual because it's fucking cool to read when you get the game, but you can't play it. You take it to school with you, you take it to the restaurant with your parents, whatever. But I think a lot of it is romanticizing it, and a lot of it is fanboyism. I mean, I don't know if it's real or not, but you have to have seen the picture of the surgeon, the anesthesiologist today, who was in an operating room. If you don't know what we're talking about, he was in an operating room, and he was giving a patient anesthesia, but he stopped to take a picture of himself and do console flame wars. I'm like, bitch, you went to medical school.
He runs a Sony fanboy podcast. I've actually listened to him before he did that situation. He's just a blind fanboy. There's no reasoning with that guy.
How does this motherfucker exist? I don't know. All right, Sector, I appreciate your call, and I hear you, buddy. Talk to you soon. Thanks for calling in, Sector. I want to respond to Doge real quick, which kind of also responds to a few other people. Doge says, I feel Breath of the Wild did this also. Breath of the Wild was great, but here's where I think it broke down, was that everything was very clear. It was like, this is a shrine, so it's puzzle time, right? You had a lot of emergence in moving through the space, but Elden is not like, okay, I know when I go into a cave, it's going to be time to solve a puzzle. I think because it was so modular in many ways, Breath of the Wild didn't do what this did. But, your mileage may vary, of course. VitaVision says, Jaffe, there are plenty of auteur directors with commercial success. Hasn't stopped the majority of films being safe bubblegum. Same with music, plenty of arty musicians. But the pop landscape is what it is. I'm not sure, Vitaphone, what you're responding to, though. I think you're right about what you're saying. But give me a little more information there. Realism says, if you're that doctor's patient and you're an Xbox fan, you're dead. Can you imagine if he has to cut you open and he goes down to like your stomach and there he finds like an Xbox tattoo or like a picture of Phil Spencer's face? And it's like, I thought you were going to go in through my arm and it was going to be super simple. Yeah, no, we had to go in through your stomach. Sorry, I ripped your fucking tattoo over. But what I was going to say to Doge, though, and the other people about, it was SM about a quest log. We talked about this last week. The fact that, and again, I'm not saying Elden Ring is going to resonate with the number of people that a Grand Theft Auto would. But there is something about going, you know what? I should maybe write this down. In a journal, like a lot of people have gotten notebooks for Elden Ring, and they're just like, I met this lady and she wants this. Keep that in mind. You have a little bit of that in the game. You have those pieces of information you can buy off merchants, but whatever. Let's move on. Let's talk about something we can all agree on. Well, the Stranger of Paradise demo's out, so that's good to know. Let me know if it's any good. Imagine having a Phil Spencer tattoo, says Family Guy Dog. Hey, trust me, people probably do. Let's do this. Let me look up Phil Spencer tattoo. Did I spell tattoo right? 2 T's or what? Someone has to have a Phil Spencer tattoo. They just have to. Well, he's got a Popeye tattoo. You know someone's going to get one. Someone's got to have like an executive tat, like a, let's say Shuhei. I don't know. Well, I'll do a whole story on it. We'll look it up. I'm going to talk about that later. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this bullshit. I just want to point out the author. The story is not the author's story. The story is the author of the story. Who's hyper today? Who's in the soup today? You goddamn right, it's Papa Jaffe. This guy, Eddie Torres says, I keep a picture of Kojima in my wallet like a normal person. The cop pulls you over. He's just like, let me see your license. And all these pictures of Kojima spill out. Oh, that's Kojima. Have you played Metal Gear Acid 2? It's very rare in the canon, but it's very important to the story, you see. Kojima was making it a metaphor, a reflection of our lives when it comes to how we respond to Vietnam in the modern era. Kimiro Art, thank you, pal. He says, people don't understand how games influence each other. I appreciate the super chat, buddy. People aren't going to copy Elden Ring verbatim, but they're going to learn heavily from it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And they will be influenced by it in ways they're not even aware. You know, I mean, look, you saw it with the combat in God of War, and more specifically, a fucking Star Wars mainstream game was clearly influenced by Souls combat. I think, I just, yeah, I'm sorry. I think it absolutely will. I'm sorry. I think it's great. Okay, listen, let's talk about this. Lost Ark developer shares absurd response to criticism. Now, this guy has a right. It's an op-ed, I assume, but he's so assured that his view on this is correct that it makes him come off incredibly dumb. Darnell Hill says, yeah, I believe it, man. Darnell Hill says your wallet spills and it's got wedding pictures, but with Kojima's face, you've kind of stapled in. I want Kojima to be my husband. God of War not just influenced combat design as well, was influenced by Dark Souls. Oh yeah, no, I mean God of War influenced a lot of shit. SM says Jaffe went from why don't they explain this in Bloodborne to no FromSoft is perfect. You know that's not what I'm saying. You know good and goddamn well that's not what I'm saying. I hope you know that. I want to know what you think of SOP. I don't know what that is. Neil Druckmann has been tweeting a lot of Elden Ring lately. I'm really interested to see if this bleeds in the next Naughty Dog game. It has to. It has to. Oh, I saw that. Not to mention Elden Ring is fucking weird, says Bukaki. I came across some girl talking about how she's not brave enough to have her limbs severed and join the spider. Yeah, and then you fight the spider. You find that creature, which is a bunch of fucking heads and arms dangling from a fucking spider. It's creepy as fuck. It's delightful. It's delightful. Okay. But this guy's, I'm just going to read you what he says. I'm going to read you the article, but not the whole thing, though. What am I, the quartering? I'm not going to read you the whole article. In the statement, he's talking about how there were a lot of complaints about Amazon and Smilegate's Lost Ark, which is the #1 being played concurrent game right now on Steam. Right under it, by the way, Elden Ring. But at the very tippy top is this game, Lost Ark. Very successful game. Came out of nowhere for me, but I guess it's big over in Korea. And people were like, hey, how come the women folk can't be warriors? And how come the men get to wear armor and the women look like pinup girls? And so this was the statement that Amazon Games put out. Listen to this. In the statement, franchise lead Suman Park makes promises to improve wardrobe and class options for the game's female characters. But he also offers some, this is the writer talking now, some absurd reasoning for why it's retaining some sexist design decisions. Those sexist design decisions have been called out by players and critics alike. The core issues have to do with a strict gender divide for the game's different classes, the stuff I just told you. Instead of offering any transparency for why Smilegate RPG chose to limit its female characters to sexy wardrobes, Park offers a defense of players who prefer the original Korean version of Lost Ark as an appeal to authenticity. How about there's no transparency needed? You don't have to like it, you jackass, but not every game needs to be made for your political persuasion. I guarantee you, pal, Bryant Francis, who wrote this, my progressive bona fides are a hell of a lot bigger and stronger and deeply rooted than yours are. You're not going to find a lot of people more progressive than me. Certainly not in the game space. Certainly not on the goddamn internet. So when I tell you that you sound like a fucking jackass, you sound like a fucking jackass. All right? Because they don't owe you a game that matches your view of the world. There are plenty of games, and I think you're right, by the way. There's a lot of sexism in game development. There's a lot of sexism in the games themselves. That sexism can oftentimes go out into the world and harm people. It is an absolutely important thing to be aware of and talk about. But that does not mean that overt sexuality is bad. And it also doesn't mean that some games can't not be made that are specifically for lesbians and straight males. That in terms of that's what they're making it for, or that's the kind of angle they're coming at. Fuck you. You're not right about it. It's so arrogant for you to write an article acting as if these guys have stepped over a line that only exists because you've put it there. Female characters in Lost Ark, he goes on, are largely locked into outfits that seem to be designed with sex appeal in mind. Good. That's the direction. And have character models and animations that tack on the same direction. Good. Male characters have wardrobes that seem designed for fantasy and do not have the same animations. Cool. So what? The gender divide for the game's different class is also suspect because they seem to map onto conventional gender stereotypes. They are only male characters, the game's warrior class, the stuff I already told you about. Men are allowed to exhibit physical strength while women are locked into displaying intellect and guile. Yeah, that's that game. Go play another game. There's plenty of games, wonderfully, thankfully, brilliantly, that don't do that. But this game does. And it's not the fact that you don't like it I have a problem with. It's the fact that the way you write makes the assumption that they're simply wrong and you're simply right. Part did not address the fact, he goes on, that it is only in the situation because it opted to create such wildly different character models that needed different animation sets. In terms of the women, he's like, oh, the women can't be warriors because we didn't build them to animate that way. Whatever. He says classes are tied pretty closely to the character models in terms of function and animation. It's like, yeah, so what? Whether it's true or not, he doesn't owe you anything. Part made clear the original revealing outfits would not be removed. Good. The core motivation behind the changes is apparently to manage the balance of fans who want a Lost Ark experience that is close to the Korean version, which I guess they don't have a stick up their ass, and new players who may not like the current armor and costume options, which, you know, that's fine if you don't like them. Adding more options for players uncomfortable with the game's current offerings for females is a step in the right direction. But the stated motivations are absurd, says this writer, casting the differences in views about Lost Ark's character design as those preferring the original Korean version versus those who don't mask the core design decisions as those preferring the original Korean version, end quote, versus those who don't masks. This is him writing poorly. He's got an S where it doesn't need to be. Who don't mask the core design decisions as being a question of different cultural taste. It's inaccurate to say that creating clear gender imbalances is some essential part of Korean game culture. That may be true. That may be true. Doesn't matter. It's what they wanted to make. I'm gonna finish this up. It's almost done, but it just drives me batshit. They're adding choices for players who want different wardrobe options without addressing that the core ways female characters were designed was with sex appeal first. Fuck off, is my response. Go fuck yourself with a rusty pipe, you moron. It is somewhat suspect that Amazon and Smilegate's plan to hide currently existing costumes from marketing and character creator rather than commit to even more options for both genders. Jeez, I can't imagine why they would want to not have to put up with assholes like you all the time. They have the #1 being played game right now in America on PC. They got bigger fish to fry than worrying about your fucking ass. It's somewhat suspect. Yeah, because they want to deal with you, idiot. With all the advancements that come in video game character creators in the last half decade that have even allowed players to explore a wider spectrum of gender identity, which you know I think is phenomenal, or just inhabit a wider variety of body types. Excellent. Wonderful. Amazon and Smilegate's strategy here is exhausting to rehash. Then don't rehash it, because no one cares except people who clearly are not exhausted and are okay rehashing it. I thank you. Thank you. I know. No, I know. I appreciate that. But that is the way it goes. Sector says, Jaffe, Western devs have admitted to creating uglier female characters to appeal to women. Great. That's their right too. I support that 100%. I absolutely support a developer that says, you know what? I'm putting my shit out into the culture and I take responsibility for that. And if it's going to be seen and my vision is not going to be clear, that it is an intentional vision, like I always say, I would do total crazy sex in a new God of War if I was allowed. But I would be clear that that is sort of the raw, raunchy 14-year-old mentality. I would not make it a misogynistic game. But absolutely, what we put out in the culture affects the culture. And I think it's great that there are people who say, you know what, not every female character needs to be, most female characters don't need to be, most characters don't need to be overtly or overly sexualized. Great. I support that as much as I support, you know, the guys making, you know, these choices over at the goddamn Lost Ark developer. What's so bad? It's guys in America who have issues with sexy women in games. I believe guy gamers need to grow up. I don't think it's that simple, though. I do think these are not idiots. As much as I'm just kind of taking the piss out of this guy, you know, these are well-articulated, smart people that think about this stuff. And I think their heart is in the right place. I think that I think that they're right to question this, and I think they're right to push back on tropes that are that have been chronic and damaging. I agree, but I also think that they take it to such an extreme that they end up kind of shitting all over the value that they are bringing in questioning these things to begin with, is what I would say. I want to tell you one thing real quick, different story. I got to bring your attention to this. This is crackerjack, baby. This is great. I'm going to put the link in the website or in the chat. I just pasted it. You got to check this out. Square Enix has done a lot of stupid shit lately. Here's something that's not stupid. Square Enix puts extensive soundtrack library on YouTube Music. You got to go check this shit out. Look at this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show it to you. So at first you're like, these are the recent uploads, whatever. Look at this. All of the Final Fantasy albums. There's 89, there's like Final Fantasy 10, 9, set, all of them. All the Saga series, all the Mana series. Secret of Mana, original soundtrack. The Chrono Trigger series. The Nier Automata series. Square Enix music in general. Bravely Second. I mean, this is incredible. This is a treasure trove of free, some of the best music ever written for video games, and it is available right now on your YouTube channel. So, something, baby. I hope more companies do this. I would love for Sony to do this. I would love for Nintendo to do this. Nintendo, the goddamn soundtrack to Mario Kart 8 is just fucking nuts, man. It's fucking nuts, so good. So check that shit out. All right. Let's talk briefly. Nintendo delays Advance Wars Remaster due to Russian invasion. I don't have to tell you about that. I mean, you know, their heart's in the right place. I don't really think it matters, but I mean, I haven't played the game. I'm excited for this game. I'm disappointed it's delayed. But if they think it's distasteful to release a game like this, given what's happening in Ukraine, okay, fine. But there's the news for you. They've delayed the launch of its upcoming Advance Wars Remaster following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In a brief statement, Nintendo of America said it's delaying Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp in light of recent world events. The remaster was coming out this April. Now it's been moved further down the line. So, you know, we'll see what happens. Good night, Jacob Martin. Always good to see you, buddy. Thank you for hanging out with us and bringing your views to the world. I appreciate it, sir. Yeah, PlayStation today donated $2 million to refugees in Jeeves. That's right, and they stopped selling in Russia. That's right. Okay, but there's some news for you. Okay, we'll talk about the sexism lawsuit going on at Sony tomorrow. Sadly, it's nothing you hadn't heard before. Let's talk about the state of play that happened today. I'm just gonna, you know what's interesting? I usually stream this, and I decided to not stream it today. And I was busy, like I said, working on the site, but it actually ended up kind of working out really well because it allowed me to kind of have more time with my thoughts, so we can talk a little bit more in depth about them. I don't know. I may have gone over. I may have to save this till tomorrow. I may have to save this. Let me burn through it fast. So because I want to deliver what I promised, but I have an appointment at 8, and it's 8 now. But let me give you guys the high concept of kind of what I'm thinking here. Let me get these super chats first. Camiro Art, thank you, buddy. He says, all these people mistake, regardless of what side they're on, is arguing from the assumption that everything has to conform to their exact criteria. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, there is truth to that. Like I said, I think it is wise and it is important to be responsible with what you put out into the world. But you don't have to. It would be a terrible culture if we had to, because at that point, obviously it's cliche to say, but it's true. At that point, what do you end up with? You end up with who gets to decide what's responsible to put out into the world, right? I mean, you literally have the Don't Say Gay law that just passed in Florida. You literally have parents in Texas that can be thrown in jail for child abuse if they work with trans kids to help their own trans kids for helping them in whatever way they define transition, even though that saves trans kids' lives. So I would never want anyone to come in and say you have to do this, but I think it's good to be aware that what you put out there does affect the world. Good night, Silent Assassin. Thank you for hanging out with us, buddy. I appreciate it. And so not right now. Oh, sorry, that's Ace. Ace has been making this noise lately. I don't know what it is. Sorry, he's such a dumb dog, but I love him. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about a little bit of let's talk about a little state of play. All right, state of play open with Exo Primal. Everybody thought I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm just going to skip through it. The good news is, I jumped ahead. The good news is my God, where does this fucking thing start? Hang on. Trek to Yami is not an opening trailer. What the fuck is this, all out of order? Okay. Oh, I see what they're doing. Okay. Exo Primal is Capcom's new IP. It is basically a, whoops, hang on. It basically looks like a co-op shooter where you're mechs fighting dinosaurs. I'm positive on it only because it's Capcom. They always get the benefit of the doubt with me because they've earned it. But if I didn't know it was Capcom, my knee jerk is like, oh shit, another fucking co-op online shooter. That looks pretty great. There's tons of dinosaurs falling from the sky. Primal something, I forget what it was called, came out recently, and it was a dinosaur co-op shooter, and I thought it was fun. It was tuned really difficult, too hard for its own good, but I think. But I thought that idea would have caught on, but it didn't seem to really catch on. But this one looks a lot more batshit. This one looks a lot more fun, and it's Capcom, so that it's it's going to be polished and stuff. I'm really over co-op shooters at this point, but that said, I'm certainly going to give it the benefit of the doubt. So this was kind of a nice thing to open with. I hope that it's crossplay. I think in this day and age, the idea that you're coming out with games like this that are not crossplay is ridiculous. So I hope it is. But yeah, I'm looking at it. Somebody says it looks like Lost Planet. To me, this actually looks, Jeeves says it looks like something from Platinum Games. To me, this looks like multiplayer Earth Defense Force a little bit, but with dinosaurs. Like it's so fucking crazy. Yeah, exactly. Andre says it's EDF with freaking dinosaurs. It's so fucking crazy and weird that I don't know if it'll sell, but I think it's cool. This is coming in 2023. Yeah, Family Guy Dog says it would be perfect for PS Game Pass. And somebody else earlier was saying it would be perfect for Darnell Hill says it would be perfect for Game Pass, not the piece, Microsoft, right? It's not even World War Z, though. It's not just that it's zombies, it's mechs. It's so Japanese. It's like, we got dinosaurs. Like, there's this kind of rule in writing when you're writing speculative fiction or sci-fi or fantasy that you get, I forget what they call it, but you get like one gimme, right? You get one weird twist, right? It's like, okay, it's a normal story set in suburbia, but the father is jumping time zones. So he's living in different time periods and he can't control when he's going to shift. That's your one gimme, right? Or it's a sword and sorcery epic, but, which is kind of cliche at this point. So that's the normal thing. But what's weird about it is a magician transfers his consciousness into a pig to escape death and actually has to become a hero as a pig, right? In Japan, especially in this one, this is like, we'll take as many gimmies as we want, right? This is like, we got dinosaurs, we have time travel, and you know what? Let's put in some fucking anime mechs to fight these things. It's just like fucking batshit, which I think is great, but I don't think it's gonna do that well in America, but it might. It looks like fun. All right, I'm excited to give it a shot. Okay, then they showed, somebody in the chat was saying Ghostwire Tokyo's trailer was the best one they've showed. I don't agree with you. I think this, again, I'm not, I traffic in the drama. If it's dramatic, I'd rather talk about it than if it's boring. I will buy this game if it gets good reviews. I don't want to shit on this game. I love the developer. Although it's not directed by, what's his name? The RE4 guy, Mikami. It's not directed by him, so I'm not entirely sure I'm excited. But Sony had a 40-minute state of play a couple of weeks ago to really sell people on this fucking game. And they didn't for a lot of people. It was like some of the combat looked cool, but it didn't make any goddamn cockadoodie sense regarding what did are there puzzles? Do you explore? Is it like Resident Evil or Evil Within? Or is it like room after room after room of combat? Then you get a cutscene. Like, there's no sense of what this game is still. And so you have an option to explain that and excite people. And once again, it's like, here's a story trailer. It's like they're not showing, there's still so many questions about this particular game that I think it was a real missed opportunity. I hope that was just, hey, Jaffe, they don't agree with you, fuck you, but it's still a great game. I would hate for this to be one of those things where they don't really have a great game. They have a great look, they have some great combat, and if you're into that, great, but this is kind of a monster room game, and that's all it fucking is. But we'll see pretty soon. NBMTX says it looks great, and the comments were super positive. I don't know what you're positive about, though. There's nothing here that they haven't already shown. And there's still many, many, many questions about what this game really is. But yeah, it's a nice, it's a nice group of images put together. Somebody says, Vitaphone said, Jaffe, regarding Exo Primal, it's nice to see Capcom trying new IP. This and Pragmata both coming next year. Feels 360 PS3 era, which is nice. But then someone says, Gabriel Knight says it's free to play. Are you talking about Exo Primal is free to play? That's pretty great. What's kind of annoying about Ghostwire, says Returnal, is it started as a horror game, but now it's an action anime game. I don't know what it is. The prelude just seems to focus on the lore. Right, you're talking about the free virtual novel Family Dog Guide that just came out that you can get for Ghostwire. Right. Eddie Cardwell says, so I just run around and sign language people to death. How long until I get bored? Oh, that's fantastic. That's terrible, but you're going to hell, but it's fantastic. No, I'm not going to GDC, Gabriel. I'm kind of over that life. Interesting. NB says the comments on the Ghostwire were so positive, I literally cross-checked with a different source because it looked like they'd been moderated. Well, were they? It's first-person Evil Within set in Japan. It's a hub-based open game, says Wiki. How do you know that? I mean, that's great. If it's more of an adventure action game and what they've been showing is the combat, but you are exploring and solving puzzles and all that, I think that sounds awesome. I think that sounds fucking awesome. But I have no idea what it is, and I'm curious where you got that from. It is pretty. NYC M3RC, Jesus Christ, sir, says, it sure is pretty, though. It is. Okay. What came next is Stranger of Paradise. First, let me just say this. I would love for Japan to just do me a favor. Just Square, if you're listening. Do me a favor. I'm going to give you guys some a nickel's worth of free advice, right? You guys at Square, and maybe what, these are not idiots. This is like me talking to Mo. Mo's like, hey, Jaffe, you think they don't have people researching this? I don't know about this, but you may be right, Mo. Maybe I'm being arrogant, but maybe they say, look, Jaffe, on a lot of these titles, we know that most of our American and English-speaking audience are sort of Japanophiles and American otaku, and they love the fact that these games are directly translated from Japanese. It's part of the charm. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. If you've done the numbers and you feel that that audience makes more sense to cater to than your average person going, what the fuck is triangle strategy, right? Stranger of Paradise is a horrible name. It'll be fine if the game's great. It doesn't really matter. But it matters only in that, these are the guys that name like Kingdom Hearts 3.2 XXX. What are you people doing? So I think, first off, it's a terrible name. It's a terrible name. I haven't gotten to play the demo, so I really don't have an opinion about this yet. I think it potentially looks pretty cool, but I don't really know what it is. Wiki is saying, by the way, Tokyo, Ghostwire Tokyo, it was once Evil Within 3. I didn't know that. If you've played 2, you'll know what I mean. You explore like Yakuza games, but you can scale buildings. Okay, that's great. I didn't know it was once Evil Within 3. That's fantastic. Stranger of Paradise will play the demo. Yes, I will play it. Fuck you, BB. Being negative. Aiden says, damn, you also played Kingdom Hearts 2 X, whatever the fuck it's called. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0. I don't know if that's a real name, but it sounds like a real fucking name. All right, let's move on. The next game was Forspoken. I think this looks horrible. This looks horrible. Now, okay, but wait a minute. Vitaphone says naming conventions normally have to do with poor mistranslations and cultural differences. I understand that. If you're a three-man company working in Japan and no one really speaks English and you're using Google Translate. Square Enix is a publicly traded multinational corporation. You're telling me they don't have an American marketing department that can say, maybe naming our new game that people seem to really be digging Triangle Strategy doesn't make the most goddamn sense. Maybe. So let's talk about Forspoken. I think Forspoken looks dumb, right? I don't know if Forspoken being sort of buried in the middle of all this, because as far as we know, Forspoken is a exclusive for PlayStation 5. It's not a timed exclusive, I don't think. I think it's an exclusive. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe you've seen news I haven't, but I looked it up. I couldn't find anything that said anything different. Gabriel says, you're out of your cockadoodie mind, Jaffe. Forsaken looks awesome. Or Forspoken, what the fuck is this thing called? Well, here's what I'll tell you about it. I think, like I said earlier, I think the combat, the navigation looks amazing. The way this character moves, the way she moves is awesome. The way she slides and rides on that, like, skateboard and whatever the fuck she's doing, and parkours through the environment is absolutely fucking awesome. Like, come on. But the rest of it, the combat, maybe if every Square game since the Final Fantasy remake had not been combat like this, I'm just kind of tired of seeing, like, this combat doesn't do it for me anymore. It's like, okay, whatever, right? But more importantly, it's just, it feels so. And again, I'm not going to be this Elden Ring guy. I'm not. It's just I'm really incredibly impressed with the design of that game, and I think what it's going to change. And this just feels so antiquated now to me. It's like, here's the quirky, cocky protagonist, and she's got some fun throwaway lines, and, you know, she's going to be her own hero, and all. It feels so played out. It feels so tropey and cliche and uninspired, is what it feels like to me. So it's not that I don't know what the gameplay is yet, but it's fine, but it just kind of looks, been there, done that. Been there, done that, you know. The other thing is that I like the song. I can't play it for copyright reasons. I like the song they play in this trailer, but it is funny because they're pushing this big, strong, which I love, this sort of strong narrative female, and I love it. Again, this is what I'm saying. I support this and applaud this as much as I applaud the artistic direction for Lost Ark, but I love that you have a really strong representation of a young woman, a black woman. But then they have this rap by a guy. You'd think they'd have some fucking female rap that's about how badass she is. It's very strange. There's something about that. There's a story there, or there's some meaning there that you couldn't find. Your whole game's about a woman, I'm assuming, kind of coming into her own and becoming strong and becoming a warrior, and you can't find a rap song from a woman. It's got to be a dude. It's a little bit weird. I also don't like, Hugh says gamers love tropey, uninspired protagonists. That's what she seems like. She just seems very, like, you know, okay, been here, you know, it's just boring. It's been boring. Oh, I'll give it a chance too, Wiki. Wiki says I'll give the game a chance. I give every game a chance. But the marketing was awful. Yeah, I was talking to the people at PlayStation Productions. All I can tell you guys about PlayStation Productions is people were leaking some shit, and I wrote them. I said, I hope you guys know I didn't leak that shit. I haven't heard back from them. So I'm like going, shit, they think I leaked that shit? I had never leaked shit. But I was talking to them about the marketing for Uncharted. I said, you know, the weird thing is, I said, people who see it that aren't critics fucking love Uncharted. I haven't seen it yet. But, man, the marketing was terrible. But, you know, that happens sometimes. So you may be right. The marketing here so far may be shit. Jaffe really drives home the man in a dress trope. I don't know what that is. Kills the authenticity for trying to make a strong female lead. I don't know what the man in a dress trope. I've never heard of that. Why is Forspoken more expensive than regular PS5 games? Is this a riddle? Is this a joke? I didn't know that it was. I wonder when we'll get more information about Final Fantasy 16, says Jarvie. We haven't heard since the first PS5 showcase. Yeah, it's a good point. Frankly, with all these crazy names, everything's mixing together from Square to me. I can't even keep them apart. I know Returnal. The music for the trailer is not going to be in the game, probably. I know, which is even more reason. If the music is meant to set a tone, then you would think that, you know, it would set a tone even better by having a female rapper, but whatever. Fuck you, Bacon Magma. I don't leak shit. I do not leak shit. Legend says, what's up with all these game studios making games about characters tossing magic spells at things? Did they get tired of guns? I don't know, but they are starting to look a lot alike. Jaffe, did you contact Lee Kai? Shut up, you fuck. Shut up, you fuck. Piece of shit. Did I contact Leaky Bum? What's funny is I'm a guy who says, you know, shit, fuck, cunt, twat. I'll say anything for the most part as long as it's not hate speech. And you think you got me because I said leaky bum? Come on now. Jaffe just low-key confirmed he leaks about PS production. Oh, that the leaks are true? You don't know what leaks I'm talking about, man. I don't leak shit. I take great pride in that. I don't lie and I don't leak. I get a little burned out on the Woman games, says CR3D. We get it, you're progressive. Well, you know, to be fair, if that, you're not necessarily wrong in that sometimes it feels pushed, but at the same time, I'm sure that a lot of people were like, Jesus, another white male cisgender hero in a movie, in a game, in a TV show, in a novel, in a comic. I mean, there's a point where, you know, you got to even the playing field a little bit. And we've had a long time at the top of the food chain when it comes to representation. Okay. So Vitaphone says, man in a dress trope is when a baseless gender swap to appear as if the genuine female lead, when the character isn't in any way written as a woman. Yeah, but I don't know if that's what this is. I mean, it was at least initially written by one woman. I mean, you may be right, but are you basing that off anything other than just the trailer? Oh, you're probably not wrong, Family Guy. Family Guy says maybe you should play some of the Square games. You'll be able to tell them apart. Oh, I don't doubt that. And I also don't doubt that a lot of them, or at least some of them, are very high quality games. I'm not knocking the games. I'm saying that at a marketing level, you'd think they could do a little bit of better job differentiating their products. That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter which ones you are talking about, Chongo says, just that something recently leaked is something they shared with you. Oh, sure. Whenever there are leaks and they're accurate, if I know about them, I'm like, oh, yeah, I knew about that 8 months ago. Sure. But that doesn't mean that I said anything. I would never say anything. Yeah, that's true. Kimiro Art says, we've had enough brown-haired white males to last a lifetime. You don't get to complain about any other type of character. There's some truth in that. And that's not really true either, Jay. If corporations were progressive, they wouldn't be so against workers' unions. I think it absolutely depends. I think that's a bigger discussion that we can have later. But there is some truth in that, but it's not entirely only true. Because depends on the industry you're talking about. Amy Hennig is writing this game, Jaffe says, Kyler. I know she wrote, and Gary Whitta wrote some of it initially. But I don't think she's like the full-time writer. She's off doing her own thing now at her new company. I think. Vita was talking about the ludo dissonance of having a male hip-hop song instead of a female artist. Might have felt more in tone with the strong female character. I think it would have, yeah. Josh, I have not played Final Fantasy VII Remake. When we shut Bartlett Jones down, Doge, who's in the chat now, goes by this weird name, Aiden. Come on, Doge. Own it, baby. He was playing it in the office, and I saw it, and I kept meaning I need to get it and play it. And I know there's the PS5 version, but I haven't yet. I have not heard of Legends of Fuga Melody of Steel. Never heard of it. Yeah, but what leak are you talking about, Chongo? There's like 6 leaks that came out. There was one about Horizon. There's one about an actor in Tsushima. There's one about the God of War Amazon thing. There was one a couple of days ago about Sly Cooper cartoon series. Which one are you talking about? Okay. Isn't that a little dishonest, though? Do we slam China for having mostly Chinese actors and actresses? No, but that is a little racist on your part. Do you think America is only made up of white, cisgendered, male action heroes? Whites are going to be a minority in the next 10 years, they say. It's going to be a lot of mixed race and people from Mexico and different parts of the world. I just leaked them all. No, I'm saying that's what leaked, Sir Nick, those stories. Most people in the country are white. Makes sense to see a lot of white protagonists. Yeah, but there's a lot of people who aren't white that buy things too. And honestly, why does it matter? Did you care? I don't like this protagonist so far because of all of her dialogue. She has some line in this thing where she's like, it's like, this world's beautiful. And she says something like, in an everything's trying to kill you sort of way. And I'm just like, oh my God, really? It's just like, that's what I hate about this character so far. But do you care that she's a woman? Do you care that she's black? I mean, what do I care? She's a character. Do you care that you're not going to watch Black Widow because it's a woman? I don't even understand that. It doesn't even make sense to me. I do wonder, though, they've kind of buried this in, and this is like Deathloop and Ghostwire, and maybe even Kenna, right? This is exclusive, if not for 2 years. It's exclusive forever. I don't know what the deal is, but I think they'd be pumping this up a little bit more. It did just slip, though, so maybe they're like, okay, we were going to start blowing this out, but This thing is now coming out, I think, in December, they said. I don't care, Jaffe says CR. I care when people force it. If you want to have a non-white protagonist, do it because it makes sense. Yeah, but I don't like contrived anything. I appreciate that. I don't like contrived anything either. But it sounds like you're saying that, this is not Batman who's been turned into Batwoman. This is an original character who was given life as a young black woman. Where does it end for you? You're one person's contrived is another person's normal. This doesn't seem contrived to me. It just doesn't seem good. Doge says most games already have white male protagonists. I love how one game comes out that breaks that. Suddenly it's too much. Well, I get what they're saying. There is a lot of shifting in the characters in media, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think it's wrong to pretend that's not happening. We're seeing it. And some of it feels like it comes from a corporate mandate, and some of it feels like it's authentic. But people say that. What's funny about that is it's such horseshit. I'm sorry, CR3D, I love you, but it's such horseshit. Do you know how many decisions about who goes into your movies or TV shows are contrived, are forced by corporate? You think every actor to get an actor in a TV show, a big actor, it's not like that was the artist's vision. Are you kidding me? It's okay. If you're talking about a network TV show, that actor goes in front of literally a room full of executives and marketing and gets Q tested and focus tested. And there's a million things that studio does before they get an offer to play a major role in a TV series or a movie, unless they're already hiring a star that they know about. So this idea that it's like, this feels fake and sort of inauthentic. But, when I watch the latest CSI, and I don't watch it either, but, or when I watch the latest big blockbuster movie and there's a white dude in it, that just feels normal. It feels normal because that's your normal. Okay, let's move on. We saw Gundam Evolution. This is what's weird about this title. Gundam Evolution, my jury's out on this one. P Turtle, I see you, buddy. I love when you call in. I'm not going to be able to get to you today. I'm already running over. But if you want to call back tomorrow or Friday, I'd love to talk to you, bud. I'm so sorry. Always love it. P Turtle's hit or miss for people. Some people love him. Some people hate him. I don't agree with 98% of the shit comes out of the goddamn man's mouth, but I think he's an entertaining guy to listen to sometimes. But anyway, this is this Gundam Evolution game. And what's weird about this title is that when you watch the opening of it, it had me pretty excited, right? I was like, oh, cool. I'm not really a Gundam guy, but I was sort of like excited for, cool giant robots battling. But ultimately, though, when it actually cuts to gameplay, like that's cool. But when, this is cool because they look like giant robots fighting. But gameplay just looks like a shooter, just like a first-person fucking shooter. There's a couple of things they do that are interesting, like, one guy turns into a drone, the sliding is really cool, but it doesn't kind of feel like 1v1 virtual on, or what is that other, like, 3v3? It might be a Gundam game, but there's a big Gundam game in Japan. I was actually studying it at Bartlett Jones when we were thinking about doing a superhero game, that what is it, Gundam, or it's one of their other ones where it's more like a virtual on game. But this doesn't really feel like that. This just kind of feels Magic Circle. I can't have him call in. I don't have time. I'm going to go watch The Good Doctor with my family. We've gone over. But I will do it next time he calls in. I love P Turtle calling in. I love you guys, but I'm not going to put you in front of watching TV shows with my family. So yeah, and it just feels like when you actually watch the moment-to-moment gameplay, it sort of just looks like a general shooter. So I'm not really all that interested. I was, I've been wanting to see somebody make a game, and I don't know what license it would go with. Where it's like massive Shogun Warrior size robots, and there's like 5 or 6 people needed to control it. And then it's like a multiplayer B-52 game or B-50 bomber game where it's like you're a team, but your team is the robot, right? So if somebody's in engineering and somebody's controlling it and somebody's in the fist and somebody's in the leg. I've been wanting to make that goddamn game forever. Just never got around to it. I hope somebody eventually makes a robot game like that, but this looks okay, whatever. I'll wait and see. It looks like a traditional shooter. Turtles Cowabunga Collection. I was a kid of the 80s, not the 90s, so I don't have an affection for Turtles. I'm not all that interested in this. The only thing that really interests me about this is Tournament Fighters. So Tournament Fighters was a sort of a Street Fighter 2 Turbo knockoff that came out around the time Street Fighter came out. Or Street Fighter 2 came out for the SNES. And we played the shit out of Tournament Fighters in the office at Sony back in the day when we were still Sony ImageSoft. I don't know if it holds up. I would like to think that it is going to have online play. I don't know if it is. They haven't announced that. I've not watched Raised by Wolves. I've heard mixed things, but it looks really interesting. Yeah, like Voltron, NYC, yeah. Or to me, it's Shogun Warriors, but yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I thought I remember this back in the day being really fun. I'd love for it to hold up. I'd love for it to be online. Otherwise, it's going to be like I'll play with my kids for a few minutes and they'll move on. But this was a lot of fun. But the rest of them, I don't have nostalgia for. So it's really the proof will be in the pudding. I'm excited about the new Shredder game. That looks really fun. But I don't really have a burning desire to go back and play Turtles in Time or the Turtles arcade game. But I know a lot of people that, are 90s kids look at this and they're super excited, and that's great. So it was a nice surprise to see it out there. Tournament Fighters reminds me of Justice League fighting game. I remember that as well. Mutant Mo, yeah, I hear you're enjoying Triangle Strategy. I am going to pick that up regardless of the name. Gigabash is weird to me because there's 2 of these games coming out. Gigabash is basically, it's War of the Monsters, but it was before. There was a game before War of the Monsters on SNK. It's one of those big giant brawlers. There's a game that Way Forward is helping with that comes out sooner. That is the giant robot thing and monster thing, but it is done via a brawler like Streets of Rage. I'm a lot more interested in that because, if you strip away the monsters, it's basically, it's Brawlhalla, it's Power Stone, and those things can be fun, but nothing I've seen from Gigabash, and I think there's already a Gigabash 2 on the PC. Nothing I've seen makes me go, oh, that's the new step up in sort of open environment brawlers. It looks like it might be fun to fuck around with, but I'm not super. I'm more excited about the Way Forward one than this one. But if it gets good reviews, I'll pick it up. I of course love the theme, but the game just kind of looks like been there, done that. But Legends, I don't know. The next interviewee, I got to work on that. I'm not sure. It kind of got reshuffled. Was it Dawn of the Monsters was the SNK one? All right. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, all I'll tell you about this is I don't know JoJo, but I hear the new series on Netflix is really good. Makes me want to watch it. I'm aware of what it is, but I've never played any of these games. But this actually looks like a lot of fun. It looks very imaginative and cool looking and cool powers. So I know nothing about this. I can't really speak to it. Maybe it's a shit fighter. Maybe it's brilliant. I really couldn't tell you. Gigabash is modern day Rampage. I thought they were fighting Jay Nunya in that game. In Rampage, you don't fight, do you, with the other monsters? Dr. Tatrana says hello. I say hello back, good sir. Hope you're well. Trek to Yomi is similarly one of those games that if it wasn't for, Ghost Tsushima came along and they've already checked the box of giving you what it's like to play a samurai film. That train has left the station. It doesn't mean I don't care, but it just means, okay, that's not sexy anymore. Been there, done that. But what I do think is interesting about this is it kind of looks like it plays either like an action version of Inside, like it's very linear, or maybe even more like God of War, or, I've been playing Dante's Inferno recently for the first time, and I really miss games like that are more, not totally linear, but that aren't these big open massive things and these big cinematic things. And they're just kind of like, Samurai Jack was that, Pumpkin Jack was that, Dante's Inferno back in the day was that, God of War was that. So I'm excited if that is what this is, but I don't really know, based on this trailer, if that's what this is. The funny thing is, this trailer was out in December, so this isn't new. It's being published, I think, by Devolver, which is great. Flying Wild Hog is working on it, who just put out the Shadow Warrior game, and they put out all the Shadow Warrior games. And then it's also involved this guy named Leonard Minciari, who has done a lot of weird, cool, quirky, retro indie games. So I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't turn out to be really fucking cool based on the trailer and based on the pedigree of the people. But again, it's one of those things that really, this is built on the bones, this trailer, of you being jazzed because you're getting to play a Kurosawa film. In which case, that's great. But again, I've already had that particular itch scratch, so it's really kind of proof being the pudding. Let me breeze through the other ones. Returnal, whatever. I love Returnal, one of my favorite games. But the thing I want from Returnal, unlike From Software, which I don't think needs an easy mode, and I don't think this needs an easy mode, but From Software games, and certainly Elden Ring, gives you a lot of ways to skin the cat. So if you're not good with your reflexes, that's not a problem, pal. Go grind up, go explore, go find an item, go do some quests that you're able to sort of level up a specific attribute that'll let you take down a specific boss. This game, if your reflexes aren't there, you're fucked. I mean, you can choose different weapons and things, but it's a reflex shooter. And in that, I would have loved this to come out and say, hey, we're adding the ability, we're not making it any easier other than we're adding either a couple of more save points, or we're going to add some checkpoints. And I get it. It destroys the overall vision. I get it. But I'm not really interested in playing this with someone else, because I'm not good enough that I would basically go find a rock and hide and let them do everything. Yeah, the 2-player makes it easier, but I don't want it to be easier in the sense that someone else is just in there doing the hard stuff for me. I want it to be easier in that I still get to have the experience. It's just not so punishing, but whatever. It's their game. It's one of my favorite games last year. It's brilliant. They deserve all the creative freedom to do whatever the fuck they want. But I can't fathom if they don't add checkpoints or something that I will ever finish it as much as I want to, because it's too frustrating for me. I don't want the frustration. But I do love it. I do absolutely love it. Yeah, Jarvie says it needs a non-rogue mode. I don't think it even has to do that. I just think it needs a mode that says we're not going to go much easier on you, but we're going to make it a little bit more comfortable. But, they don't have to do that. I'm not saying they should, but I would like that. That's all I can speak to. Again, one of the best named... Shut up, Mr. Foreskin Hat. Go fuck yourself. Why are you a negative Nancy, Jeff? You didn't even spell Nancy right. Why hate Sony? I'll tell you what. I will donate. No, I won't, because you're not gonna be able to do it. There's no way to do it in a way that's clear. Give me an example, though, Mr. Foreskin, of how I hate Sony. I literally just said Returnal was one of my favorite games last year. I say ad nauseum that Ghost of Tsushima and Days Gone and God of War and Last of Us 2 are 4 of the best games I played last year. I know some of them came out before that, but that's when I played them. I love my PS5. I've been playing almost exclusively lately, playing Elden Ring and the WWE 2K game on PS5. I'm very excited for God of War. I'm cautiously curious about the exclusive to PlayStation Tokyo Ghostwire. Here's the problem. Here's your problem. I appreciate your money, but here's what you're really paying for with your money. You're paying for some therapy, so sit your ass down and listen. Here's the problem with you, people like you. I love you, but fuck off. Here's the problem. You don't do nuance, but unfortunately the world is nuanced. Big boy conversation is nuanced. So unless I sit here and I'm the surgeon who's literally giving anesthesia to a patient, which happened today on Twitter, and in between that or during that, I'm tweeting out how much Xbox sucks. If I don't go to those extremes, you think I'm hating on Sony. Think about how dumb that is. Think about how black and white and silly your life must be to live your life through such a bizarre, childish primary school level filter. You're a moron. Or you're a troll. Either way, I love you because you've just provided me about 3 minutes of content that I think I may be able to cut out and put on Twitter and bring more people to the stream. So thank you for your money. Thank you for that, whether you were trolling or not. But assuming you're serious, and the fact that I saw a surgeon today and he was serious leads me to believe that more of y'all are serious than I used to think you were. In which case, you're a moron, sir. Go to therapy. Once Jaffe reaches mountaintops or Golden Palace in Elden Ring, he's going to see that grinding for runes isn't going to matter. Oh, no, I've already realized that, Sir Nick. I mean, I'm still grinding sometimes, but I know, unlike Bloodborne, I cannot grind my way to a victory. But I am hoping that I will be able to explore my way to a victory. Now, if it turns out I can't, then I will be frustrated. But it still doesn't take away all the wonderful praise I've given the game. It just means that I couldn't finish it. And I wish I would have been able to. Hang on. But, you know, yeah, I hear that, though. I hear that that unlike Bloodborne and whatnot, you're going to have to bring some reflex skills. And in that, I don't think I have those skills. And I don't think I can get good enough to acquire them. Josh Douglas says, have you seen the surgeon's horrible apology video? I have not. Okay, no, not true. Spike Spiegel. To be fair, an anesthesiologist doesn't really do anything but put you to sleep and monitor the beeps. The highest chance, unless you're doing really risky surgery, of dying is probably through poorly administered anesthesia. Because you get too much, you're fucked. You have an allergic reaction, you're fucked. But that said, though, regardless, you are in an operating room. I want your focus on me. Let me put it this way. My insurance is pretty decent, but it ain't great, and most people's ain't great at all. You think if I'm going to pay that much money out of pocket to have you try to save my life, I need your full attention. Otherwise, give me a discount because you were also console warring when you were operating on my goddamn body, please. I don't know. I got Elden Ring and WWE on PS because, honestly, I wanted it for the DualSense. Now, Elden doesn't do much with the DualSense of anything. WWE does a little bit, but that's why I got it on the PS5. I don't know if it's better or worse or anything. It runs fine to me. Jake, I do stream Elden Ring sometimes, but it's so immersive that, you know, sometimes I like to just sort of get lost in it without having to talk to people, but I will continue to stream it. Sector says, unlike Returnal, there are so many overpowered weapons your exploration will pay off. Right, that's one of the things I love about it. I absolutely love about it. Okay. Yeah, I'm clearly not paying enough for him to pay attention, says Spike. Yeah, I guess that's true. And then Returnal adds this tower thing, which I'm not really a bit, you know, nothing they've announced. But if it's good for you, I think that's great. Enjoy it. I love this game. But this update doesn't really do much for me. This is another poorly titled game from Square called the Diofield Chronicle. Hey, Mom. I mean, really? Really? The What is wrong with you? Come on. Whatever. Whatever. I like turn-based strategy games. I'm very excited about the what is the Marvel, something of the Sun or something coming out from Firaxis. I love turn-based strategy games. Adore them. This may be one of my favorite games of all time. But, you know, it's hard to really show this stuff off in a quick trailer. You need like somebody playing through to explain, okay, in this battle, let us show you how our strategy is fresh and different from other similar games. So, you know, whatever. I mean, there's nothing you can comment on this. And then Valkyrie Elysium, I know that's a brand a lot of people are excited about, which is great, which was the last thing I think they showed. This just looks like another one of those you know, like Forspoken. I mean, it doesn't look like it has the navigation, but it's just another crazy, wild, real-time RPG combat, which again may be great, but I don't think this was a very strong thing to close your state of play with. But whatever. Midnight Suns, that's right. BB, I've already played Martha is Dead. Why are you always asking me to play that game? I've played it. I'll go back to it if you think it's worth going back and playing it. The last one confuses me, says Family Guy Dog. Couldn't tell if it's connected to Final Fantasy or near. This, I think, isn't this a Final Fantasy brand? WWE 2K22 doesn't even have online working. Don't know why anyone would throw money. It does have online working. At least it did. Well, it has some of the online working. I don't know if it has online matches working yet. Hang on. But I threw money at it because I was excited by it and I wanted to stream it and play it. And it's awesome. And it's not only awesome, but it's an awesome compliment to it's an awesome compliment to Elden Ring, because I can't go back and forth between Elden Ring and Cyberpunk, which I'm loving as well, because they're not similar games, but they're similar in the sense that, you know, they're both immersive story open worlds, but it's wonderful to take a break from Elden and just go bash some fuckers in 2K. And I'm going to do a quick impressions of 2K in the next day or two. I'll wait for online for everybody to get it, because it comes out tonight or tomorrow. I bought the early edition. But it's really fun. And I knew nothing about the customization stuff. I was never a wrestling guy. But you can make your own arenas, your own championship belts. There's Spider-Man. Kratos was already in it last night. So I'm excited. I'm very, very excited by it. And I played WWE Battlegrounds, which was so arcadey that it was fun, like a piece of gum is fun and flavorful, and then it burned out very quickly. This, and again, I'm not a wrestling game guy or even a wrestler guy. I love wrestling, but I'm very new to it. So I can't speak to Ukes and I can't speak to Fire Pro Wrestling. And I'm sure that there are a lot of nuance. There's a lot of nuance that is missing in these games that people complain about. But compared to the only one I've ever really spent meaningful time with, which is Battlegrounds, it's definitely deeper and more nuanced and tactical. I don't know how much legs it'll have. I don't know if I'll be bored with it in a week, but it's really fun. I paid $100, Darth Nugget. Darth Nugget says, did you pay extra for the NWO? No, because I don't really have an affection for that group of wrestlers, but I did pay the 100 because I knew I was going to get it anyway, which was 60 or $70. And $30 got you all the DLC and the season pass, which I was like, okay, I'm going to buy it anyway, so I'll add an extra 30 because it gives me 3 days early, and I can play it and I can stream it and all that shit. So I wanted to give it a try. And I've never played one of these mainline games from WWE or from 2K. I don't really follow Rey Mysterio as a wrestler. Never did, but I thought it was really kind of cool how there's a story that goes through his career and he's narrating it, and then it seamlessly, I mean, you know it's film, but it seamlessly transitions from your gameplay to archival footage and back to gameplay. It's a really neat fucking little, you know, device they're using. I like it, man. I like it. They got to bring back SmackDown, says Wolfblood. Here comes the pain. I mean, yeah, you guys have a lot of, I assume, nostalgia from those SNES games and early PlayStation games. I don't have that. I don't have nostalgia for the 90s, what do they call it? Aggressive era or whatever the fuck it was called. So I don't really, I'm basing it, I'm coming in fresh. And as somebody doing that, it's a really good first impression. Hello, Nick T. All right, fellas, let me make sure I got all the super chats. Scott Woodford, thank you, buddy. He dropped super chat. He says, Tom McDonald's making money without record labels. A lot of people are. A lot of people in the industry are. I don't know, if they're making enough for themselves, but, I have... I open the show sometimes to Sugarcane Jane. Those guys make a living being musicians, raising a family. They're not super wealthy. That's my brother-in-law's brother and his wife. He's toured with Steve Winwood and Neil Young. I mean, he's been a sort of, I guess, studio musician, touring musician for decades. Phenomenal musician, but he's got his own group. And you know, I don't imagine they'll ever break big, but he's got his fans. He doesn't need to. You know, it's pretty fucking cool. I agree, Scott. I think I got everybody. Let's make sure. I don't want to leave anybody out. And if I did, I'm sorry. Let me know. I'll get you next time. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, fellas. That's Gabbing Games for the 9th of March. I will definitely be back. I'm always back on Friday and Monday and Wednesday. I'm always streaming on Thursday and Tuesday, but it may not be a Gabbing Games. So I'll do something tomorrow. Maybe I'll do something tonight. Depends how late we're up watching the show. I apologize that the credits are not quite working yet. That's why I was late today. I still have a lot of work to do on that, but hopefully that gives us a bigger screen, and the incredible generosity of you guys, and in this case the Cult of Calypso and the God of War members, still feels respected and called out and up to date. Because as you're looking at now, all the people in the Cult of Calypso credits are accurate and up to date, whereas before it would sometimes take me a month. Attitude Era is what it's called, to update that. But anyway, fellas, thank you so much. I hope you took the drama and the passion for what it was worth, what it was meant to be, which was just passionate people debating, discussing, loving video games. We don't have to agree in order to be pals, and I hope you know, other than one of you, and I'm not going to name their name, we're all pals in here. We'll see you real soon. Be well, be safe. Thanks, everybody. See you soon. Bye. Oh, and thanks to the mods, of course. RPG, Bukaki, Rob the Mod. Thank you guys very, very much for keeping this train on tracks. I appreciate it. See you guys.